It is indeed a pleasure to have this privilege to play here for you. We intend to give you a very fine program, so just settle back, relax, and enjoy the moment.
What up, B-Man? What up, Justin? What's up? This Justin? Not play myself and get my queen and comb situation situated. What up, Debbie? Good morning. How you feeling? Welcome back. Mic'd up with Mika. I'm Mika. I feel confident in putting a lidded tumbler behind this whole situation. Anyway, good morning, y'all. Welcome. Y'all had so many choices, but you chose to chill with your girl. I appreciate you. This is Mic'd Up. I am super excited. Frame of mind is important. Frame of mind check-in. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling well rested. I'm feeling loved. I'm in a good spot. I want to start articulating that, and I want y'all to share. Because one thing I've learned over the past couple of weeks is that I know some people that tune in and have become fixtures within the chat, have kind of come and gone. And sometimes it's just life. And it's just like, hey, schedule's just a little nutty right now. Work life, kids, whatever. But sometimes some of us are going through things. So I'm feeling great. I'm feeling love. Little mama, how you doing? Good morning. Hey, Megsy. Yeah, so just to check in. And so if you feel inclined, you don't have to volunteer. You don't got to TMI it. I'm TMI meek. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling well rested. My parents are dope. There's a lot going on, too. And so what I don't want to ever do is facilitate a space of like toxic positivity. Toxic positivity. There's a lot going on that everyone is contending with right now. And there's a lot of news and noise and things like that. So I don't ever want to create a space where we ignore all the Michigas. What's up, Allie? Good to see you. What's up, Christy? Thank y'all for checking in. Let me just say this too. I'm gonna start off somewhere pretty not unusual, but maybe in the spirit of like what I'm saying, like just checking in. Well, nah, I won't start there. But anyway, I want to say this. So I sent out a newsletter this weekend on Friday evening at like 7:18. It looked like going back. This how I know how we gotta take the stigma off mental health issues and diagnoses and C's and all that. This is how I know I'm going through like a moment of like mild mania, not bad mania. I sent out a newsletter on Friday at 7:18. I just tried to get it out real quick because I had to go and help my mom. I had to go assemble my mom's exercise bike. So I'm like, I gotta get this stuff out regarding the bid and the upcoming tomorrow's city council meeting. So if I went back, I'm like, damn, this shit looked like it was a lot. So I want to acknowledge it was a lot. I sent out on Friday, but I want to say this. I want to say y'all are real. You the real one, because y'all open that shit up 7:18 on a Friday evening. And I saw when I got to Wamala, it had almost 50% open rate. I've never seen 50% open rate. I know I try to get people to open the newsletter. I actively work to figure out what the best headline could be. Y'all got it. Y'all understood the assignment. And a lot of people opened and engaged with the link. So I want to say thank you. Right. Justin, you said the newsletter in the chat. Justin, you said the newsletter sent you down a rabbit hole that led you to emailing reps on Friday. Yeah. About the education savings account voucher bill. Let's go. Yeah, and that's what I got was like I'm looking at how people interacted with it, and look. That first newsletter, I know y'all be like, Mika, chill out with the unsubscribe stuff, but I love data. I love kind of like looking at stuff and people's behavior. Only one person unsubscribed. Only one person, right? Unsubscribe. Y'all know the profile of the person that unsubscribes. Y'all, only one person out of like 1,000 opens, only one person unsubscribed. So that to me indicated something really good and positive, and people found it to be helpful. So it's hard. Yeah, thank you. But it looked like graffiti when I came back. No shade to graffiti. We love graffiti. We love street art, but it looked like I was like, let me get this out before I had to go fix Trudy's exercise bike. Anyway, but y'all are real ones. I'm gonna open up today's newsletter. That's why I'm looking over here and not looking at y'all. I'm gonna open up today's newsletter and we're gonna get into it. For those who are new to Mic'd Up, welcome. This is hopefully a participatory news / current events / we focus on issues here, civic issues, a lot of issues like that. Whatever issues that I find important in Charleston regarding justice. We center Black liberation and all the other jazz. So if you're new to the live stream, I get to it. All right, let's switch it up. I'm trying to cut the rant down 6 minutes. I'm proud of me. All right, so if you're a real one and you're not Tom, that joke gonna get old, man. If you're a real one and you get the newsletter, psych. Shout out to all the working parents who got to do a lot of stuff. On a serious note, who got to do a lot of stuff in the morning, and you find a second to open up my newsletter. I really appreciate it because I'm single dingle. So I don't have stuff to balance. The only thing I gotta balance is, what slippers to put on while I live stream. All right. So this morning, you got this in your inbox. The thumbnail right here says it all. So today we're going to focus on, and I felt like I probably should have put that in the Friday newsletter, kind of slipped my brain, but we're going to focus on the fight to save public education. That's a huge ask from you all. But what we can do is we can lodge quite a bit of opposition to what's going on currently at Charleston County school districts. There's been so much news from Dorita Postlewaite stepping down abruptly, and then we're seeing some other resignations also follow suit. But there's been a lot going on here in Charleston. There's been a lot of opposition. There's been a lot of, outside Koch brothers driven, allegedly Koch brothers driven interference. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about all things Paul Bowers. As you can see on the thumbnail, if you can't discern, I linked it in the newsletter, but let's go scroll down. So on the thumbnail, you have Paul Bowers' Substack article. Shout out to the homie. All right. We also have this corny picture of Ben Navarro, when the whole school innovation. We're going to get into that. The Washington Post also picked up the story this past weekend. So a new school privatization battle unfolding in Charleston. We're going to read through that together, and Paul's blog that made it to Diane Ravage, to her blog. I got the book yesterday from the public library. I got Slaying Goliath. I've only gotten through the first chapter, but I finished. Shout out to your girl. I finished. Finally, the last few chapters I finished A Wolf at the Schoolhouse Door. So in the newsletter right here, I linked to Paul's Substack. We're going to read into that. And then also, I did link it. I linked the Washington Post article as well. So it's getting national attention, right? And this is I want to say this. The fight for to preserve or save public education is a historic fight. Is a historic battle. And so, I'm sorry, I'm hearing noise. It's a historic battle, and it coincides with our painful past, that our racialized past, our racialized history. So we're going to touch on that today, too. We're going to talk about the roots of public education, how it directly, as it pertains to South Carolina, the South, during Jim Crow, following Reconstruction. We're going to talk about that again. All right. I put tons of links in here. Y'all already know links. Everything is almost linked. Almost when you get a newsletter from me, almost everything is linked. I want you to download pictures. Yeah, press and save pictures. Yes, or PNGs. But everything is linked. Almost everything is linked. And either whether or not you see the hyperlinks or not. So, all the information is in there. Shout out to Joy. Joy, I didn't want to put your name on blast if and when she comes. I didn't want to put her name on blast just in case. But shout out to Joy. I was like, Joy, what's the ask? What's the ask for parents and that for people watching Mic'd Up? What's the ask? And she was like, say no to reimagine. I'm like, cool, perfect, simple enough. So if you open up the newsletter, please. We're urging every concerned constituent. I got y'all in the chat. I'm about to pick up again. Every concerned constituent. Look, I don't have children, right? I don't have school-age children. I'm not in care of any school-age children. But I am concerned. And so I felt like the part I could play is definitely emailing and saying no, and also tracking and reporting on this issue. So that's how I feel like I play my part. I want you all to figure out and design how you want to engage with this issue as well, regardless of your parental status, if that makes any sense. But again, thank you, Joy, for furnishing me with the link, the email link. Y'all can, tap this as well. Tap and click this, copy, paste it, and just say, hey, I'm learning a lot about Reimagine Schools, and I'm not feeling this. It's no bueno. I'm not feeling this. Okay, and we're gonna help you. We're gonna help you understand why we are mounting this opposition. Like that's what today is about, right? And if you're in the chat, those who are more directly got a lot of education warriors who watch regularly. If you in the chat, please. Pipe up. This is highly participatory. I know for the lurkers, how you doing, lurkers? Good morning. And lurkers does not have a negative connotation on this stream. If you lurking, you gotta stay low key because you in the low country and they like to threaten your job. They like to put pressure. Maybe you're just not there yet with being public with your supporter mic'd up. It's okay. We're gonna get there. But good morning, lurkers. But everybody, but I'm urging everybody, people who are chatting, people who gonna add to this conversation in the chat. Just please participate. Whatever, just send an email. I think that's something we all could commit to, right? Imagine if all those thousands of people that opened up my newsletter last week or over the past couple of days, imagine if they all just sent an email saying that we don't want to imagine schools, right? We don't want to reimagine schools, right? All right. So all of that is in there. Also, and I'm gonna bounce out the newsletter now. So also just get ready, y'all. So tomorrow I'll be doing the 8:00 live stream, but I'll also be doing an evening live stream of City Council. So we're gonna hang tight as long as possible. You are encouraged to sip on anything you want. I'm not the biggest drinker. I'm not the biggest drinker of alcoholic beverages, but let me tell you, baby, sometimes watching these things, put you in a mind frame to want to sip on something. But come, sip, chip, whatever it is. I always have dip. I always have some kind of buffalo style chicken dip and something. Come, if you don't want to risk exposure to Omicron, if you are going, make sure you follow all the directions that are outlined in the newsletter. When you click on the links, if you are planning to attend in person, make sure that you bring proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test within 72 hours of tomorrow's meeting, right? So bring proof of vaccination, wear your mask, practice social distance as much as that they allow you in the chambers, right? I imagine that's going to be kind of restricted in some way, shape, or form in person. For those who don't want to go through all that red tape, or who don't want to like risk exposure, or just, maybe you don't have your vaccine card yet. I don't know. You can watch right here on Twitch. So please consider joining at 5 p.m. tomorrow right here on Twitch. We live stream it. It's not the most, we make it fun. We try. We kind of go in and out of Parks and Rec episodes if time permitting, if they're filibustering a little bit and dragging their feet. But they've been on time for the past couple of meetings. They've been very not punctilious. They've been very on time. Make sure you also, I already did it this morning. Make sure you also sign up by noon today. By noon today, sign up to speak. I want to walk y'all through that right now. All right, let me see. Did I click it? Sure. Okay, so if you click on that, if you click on all the links in there, if you click on that one thumbnail, or rather that picture of the agenda, it's going to take you to the Mayor's Office of Innovation, right? So this is where you sign up. A lot of people had problems with this, right? So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. All right, good morning, everybody. Let me stop. What's up? Good morning, Joy. Good morning, Brienne. Customer service, baby. All right, Tom. What's up? Yeah, thank y'all for the positive feedback on the newsletter, right? I really appreciate it. I'm gonna neaten it up a little bit just for my taste. But anyway, so if you click the link and you wanna speak tomorrow, you wanna submit comment, I'm gonna be here. So I'm going to try to juggle. I'm gonna mute my microphone here and speak when it's time for me to speak. Come off #6. Is it #6? Keep me honest in the chat, right? Is that the prompt? #6. So I'm going to be speaking. So what I did this morning was I went on here. I went on the Mayor's Office of Innovation link. I went to this drop down right here. It says select an upcoming meeting. So you have these upcoming meetings right here, right? And this also gives you an insight as to all the other meetings you could participate in, right? So of course you want to choose City Council June 11th right here, right? And then it gives you all the parameters. Deadline to submit comments is 12 p.m. today again. 12 p.m. today, so make sure you do that. Deadline to speak, deadline to submit comments that could be read by the clerk is 12 p.m. The deadline to sign up to speak is 12 p.m. If you are attending in person, you have until 5 p.m. to sign up in person physically in City Hall, okay? But if you click on the link, you choose City Council, you got two options right here. Submit comment or sign up to speak, right? So I am going to sign up to speak tomorrow, right? I already did that. So I'm not going to do it again, of course, because I already did that. You can also, here's where you could add your comment if you just want to sign up and leave your comment. Understand, too, your address may be used for a public record. Just, if you got to exercise any caution, just keep that in mind. Be as vague as possible. But I'm hoping that is, Charleston residents are chiming in, people who live here. But anyway, be as vague as you have to be for safety reasons. So that's what you want to do in terms of sign up for City Council tomorrow. All the links are there. Please call your rep. Yes, I am anti-bid. I am unapologetically anti-bid. And I included all those links in there from the things we've talked about, the things that were shared by Site C. Shout out to Joel and Allison and them. But yeah, I included the links to a lot of things we watched together as a community. And this one right here, y'all, I really do hope that people kind of click on this and save this thumbnail, save this image and read about this story about how these other communities fought a bid. This is not fairly recent, but it gives you the origin stories of bids and how they spread, and just it's really, for me, a rich document that I encourage people to read about. I don't really think there's much middle ground on bids, but I do understand that we'll have to negotiate a level of compromise, or at least I think what Joel and people like myself and you all are arguing for is a more participatory process. I'm anti-bid. I don't really think that we need that on top of the TIFs, on top of everything else that already exists. We already have public safety we got the police. We already got the police. You already have noise ordinances. You already have a protest ordinance that infringes upon our First Amendment right to protest, right? Because you're just arresting kids who are going back and forth across the street, and it's gratuitous and it's overkill, right? You already got that, right? You got the TIF, and we'll get into the TIF a little bit delicately. You already have a TIF over there that have been a King Street TIF that's been siphoning funds from our local school systems and other operation services going into fund and fuel development projects. You already have an influx of cash. You already have your relationship with Qatar, and I'm not joking. You already got your relationship with Qatar, so you've got access to. You have access to oil money through your relationship that was brokered by Anita Zucker and her son-in-law, right? So you have oil money coming in here and drips and drabs in different ways, right? Right? Think about the Johns Island Airport. Think about Anita Zucker's new building out on that campus. Think about sister cities. Think about the COVID relief that Qatar gave us. There all these tax. If you want to improve King Street. If these business owners, if these wealthy business owners and developers in CVB want to keep King Street at some sort of aesthetic, maintain some sort of lofty aesthetic ideal, do it with the fucking money you got. Do it with the money you already got. Or how about this? This is a stretch. I don't know. Maybe tax a fucking developer once in a while. Right? And stop putting the burden on people, or stop putting the burden on residents. Now that's just a very surface level analysis, but we know also, we've talked about what the bids can mean for gentrification, for small businesses, for how prices of property and prices for rent for small businesses will skyrocket, how this really will unsettle small mom and pop businesses, and it will start to just be a home. It'll just be think of whatever that mall or that shopping strip on in that big city. It's going to be Target. It's going to be Starbucks. It's going to be Foot Locker. All these national chains, and it's not going to allow for much space for small business. And all of that is in all this information. Let me go to the chat. Stop talking and bloviating. The last one, wait, let me see. B-Man, because Allie just said thank you. B-Man, you said it takes a village to figure out how to interact with our local government. For real. What y'all talking about? Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, citizen participation. Y'all got it, right? Yeah. Y'all got that part. It's not public hearing, it's citizen participation. Right, y'all got that. And I outlined that. That's why I included those excerpts. One says public hearing. I think it said. Let me see. Yeah, sign up. These are all directions on how to speak to provide public comment. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I made okay. I'm good. Yeah, support each other with some of the stuff, the more basic stuff that if I missed it, please keep supporting each other in the chat. It's pretty straight through. What's up, El Cool J? Good to see you. All right. I didn't say yes. I didn't answer your message, El Cool J. I didn't answer anybody's text message this weekend. If I didn't answer your text message, I'm sorry. Mackenzie Elliott, El Cool J. I would love citrus. I don't know where you are now. I would love citrus, El Cool J. I got to answer a bunch of people's text messages. I really did not read any text messages this weekend, except from I didn't. All right. Okay. So yeah, everyone's caught up in the chat. Let's get to it. Oh wait, Joy, you said amazing work. We are working together. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah. Yeah, and I actually, El Cool J, to that point, Joy, you a real one. You a real one for real. Like, if we can support you, like articulate, if you want to do it privately, let us know how we can support you. Seriously, that's also what I want to facilitate. Is like I said it kind of earlier on. If y'all dealing with something, y'all going through something, closed mouth don't get fed type of deal, talk. But hopefully, and I don't mean like talk, like I don't mean hopefully it didn't sound like I was admonishing you. But if you have something that you need support on, if it's a team lift, let's do it together, right? Let's do it together. Now, this is where the janky part I'm starting off with. This pop culture has nothing to do with, but it's only going to be 3 minutes. 3 minutes from an NBC Philadelphia affiliate. Bob Saget passed away, and that kind of that moved me. That saddened me. I'm a huge fan of Bob Saget, especially his Dirty and Blue work. Shout out to shout out. Yeah, my twin brother, y'all can whenever I bring my twin brother on live stream, please make fun of the fact that he loves Full House. Like, he loves Full House. Loves Full House. Like, it's weird. But I loved Bob Saget on Entourage and those like dirty stand-ups. I loved it. You can save the America's Funniest Home Videos. But let's just watch this from Philly. Because he's a Philly native. Y'all know I lived in Philly for 10 years. So this is really sad news.
This morning, the loss of Philly-born actor and comedian Bob Saget. The 65-year-old was found dead inside his hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando yesterday. His cause of death is still unknown, but there were no signs of drugs or foul play. Overnight, fans started laying flowers outside of the iconic house in San Francisco, where he rose to fame in the TV show Full House.
It's crazy.
Overnight, his co-stars, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, said that this of their TV dad. Quote, Bob was the most loving, compassionate, and generous man. We're deeply saddened that he's no longer with us, but know that he'll continue to be by our side to guide us as gracefully as he always have. Dave Coulier, who played Joey Gladstone, said simply, quote, my heart is broken. I love you, Bob. Your forever brother, Dave. NBC 10's Reddy Gyllenhaal following the local reaction here in our area where Bob Saget was born and raised and got his start in comedy.
I'm going to stop it there, but it just was something I literally, like, I know sometimes the inane, or rather what can appear to be inane, the loss of a person's life is not inane, but sometimes, things just happen and I wanted to respond to it, especially if it moved me. All right, let's get to, we want to kind of get to, I want to revisit this clip from, I want to say a couple days ago. Like, let me see what day this is. This was from the 7th, WCBD. This was about CCSD interim superintendent shares thoughts on COVID teacher shortages. Because we're going to hit into the headlines. We're going to get into the headlines, and then we're going to bring it to the whole, to the fight, okay? To what we're trying to, how we're trying to show up for public schools, public education. here in Charleston.
From the Charleston County School District headquarters in downtown Charleston. And Forrest, you heard from the interim superintendent. This is his first time speaking with the media after taking over for Dr. Dorita Postlewaite.
Did we watch this together? I think we watched this together. Yeah, we did.
Day this week, and
But we'll listen to a little bit, and then we're gonna hop out and get to a Sinclair station, WCIV channel, ABC News 4. We're gonna get to. They had a more recent update on schools, Reimagine School story. But I just want to kind of do a little refresher on the current interim leadership with the school board.
day this week, and he plans to do so going forward as he gets settled in his new role.
I met with 3 sets of principals this week alone.
CCSD's interim boss making the rounds this week as he talked with principals in the county. Kennedy says his first focus is protecting students and staff from COVID-19.
If we had to close any schools or classrooms down, that's like a last resort.
The interim superintendent wanting to keep children in school and believes that they can do so safely through CCSD's health and safety protocols.
I would say that I'm going to continue the protocols and the processes that are already in place.
District is set to evaluate their mask mandate on Monday. One decision has been made. Substitute teacher pay increasing.
So along with Reimagine Schools, mask mandates are also up for discussion. Can I ask a question? Any public education warriors in the chat? Has the temperature been lowered by the outside groups, the agitators that have been like, I don't want to call them paid protesters because that's their language and that's their rhetoric, but they are being supported financially by outside interests. Have they kind of ratcheted it down when it comes to the opposition to mask mandates or mask provisions? What has that looked like in terms of the opposition?
With bonuses for subs, Kennedy says that the plan will be implemented on Monday.
I think it's $25, and as part of that is a rate of increase in the rate, as well as incentives for X number of days to work during the week. As
for the search for another superintendent.
Hey, Michelle.
So I don't know what the search process looks like, and whether the board has even discussed that. And again, this is week 1 for me, so I certainly haven't thought that far into the future.
Okay. So I'm going to stop it there, and then we're going to hop into the WCIV story. Again, it's the Sinclair station. I feel it's important to disclose that when we watch this. The title of the video, Charleston County School District to vote on controversial $32 million with an M. All right, million with an M, $32 million Reimagine Schools proposal. Reimagine gets the... Okay, you did not win at the wheel. You did not win your showcase. Sit down, have your seat. All right, here comes the ads, y'all. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna mute it and here we play. Okay. And we'll try to read some of the copy too. Y'all know how important it is to read copy that accompanies these videos. I'm gonna try to lean into that as well. All right, we're gonna get through this ad. It won't let me scroll away from it. Oh, yeah.
Right. ABC News 4 at 6.
Here we go.
Starts right now.
Tomorrow, a controversial proposal being put to a vote. Charleston County School District will decide if $32 million will be invested in the Coastal Community Foundation.
That's interesting, Joy. Well, we're going to talk about that after this plays.
Proposal, Reimagine Schools. Our Floriana Boardman breaks down the proposal and tells us why it has some district officials worried.
If Reimagine Schools is passed, it will affect 23 targeted schools in CCSD. 3 commissions will then be tasked with identifying a management structure to be implemented in each school. The school would either remain managed by CCSD, would transition to a nonprofit management organization, or a combination of the two. Sarah Johnson with Charleston Area Community Voice for Education says the proposal has not been given enough time.
What's that group? There's so many groups that popped up. Joy, in the chat, you said it's so strange that the Moms for Liberty folks agree with the no to Reimagine. So they will be there to protest and they're going to be there to protest Reimagine and the masks. Joy, I don't need to tell you this. I don't need to tell anybody else, any education warrior this. Just make sure you keep your fight separate. Don't do that whole enemy of my enemy is my friend. Not you, Joy, not talking to you. But I've seen this too many times in Charleston, right? The enemy of my, no. Remember, Moms for Liberty have willfully and openly organize with the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys have shown up for their actions throughout the Low Country. They have been led largely by Corey Allen, who we know to be not just a felon, and no shade to felons. I believe in reforming your life and coming out and getting second chances. But this dude is bad news, right? So knowing that they organize with Proud Boys, knowing that they organize with insurrectionists openly and willingly, understand that. So I want to make that abundantly clear, because sometimes when in these mixed race organizing spaces that may skew a little bit predominantly white, I see that like people not making that race analysis that's critical to your movement work, right? So make sure that because they out there saying goofy shit about masks and using whack science and whatnot, because they're right, because they're doing a broke clock thing like Nancy Mace, let's not, keep it separate. Keep it separate. Christy in the chat, you said Moms for Liberty said why they, yeah, that's what I really want to know. He says, we like Sarah. She's good people. She's good information. Is she part of the Moms for Liberty group? That's weird. Who's Sarah? Who's we like? Is Sarah part of Moms for Liberty? Or, yeah, fill me in. I'm listening.
Community input.
In that group, they have a position paper on what they think the best way is
okay. So when I asked you what's Charleston Area Community Voice for Education, okay.
To improve schools, to reform schools, and that's through the Schools of Innovation law and converting schools to public-private partnership schools that are managed by third parties.
Fran Clasby, a CCSD constituent board member, says the proposal might just be the change they need to move forward.
My reading of the proposal is it's a gift from Finland.
So this Fran I almost say Clansby. Fran Clasby, not Clansby. I don't know his situation. Fill me in.
Philanthropists to help desegregate and close the gap in our schools, which I've been trying to do for 25 years. And the status quo isn't working. So I'm willing to try the proposal.
Many parents and teachers are left asking for more clarification on the plan.
I haven't seen any evidence that Coastal Community Foundation has any particular knowledge or expertise beyond what folks in the school district or who.
Now listen!
What we doing? You don't have no expertise? Ooh, Joy in the chat. Yeah, you wanted to assume that. And I don't know why that was a Freudian slip that wasn't even in my subconscious yet. It's crazy.
The school district could hire with district oversight might have.
Let me rewind that because I spoke over it being silly. Because this is it.
The proposal.
Many parents and teachers are left asking for more clarification on the plan.
I haven't seen any evidence that Coastal Community Foundation has any particular knowledge or expertise beyond what folks in the school district or who the school district could hire with district oversight might have. Yeah. So I'm not sure why we should hand the reins of, I think it's 23 schools over to folks who can't.
Oh, wow. So Joy in the chat says educators do not want this, and Coastal Community Foundation didn't inform the principals of the affected schools. Absolutely. Shout out Michelle too. No, absolutely this. I'm gonna let it play. I'm gonna let it finish.
They're in a better position than the people who are already there.
Both Angel Oak Elementary and Burke High School have issued community statements against the proposal, asking CCSD board members to vote no. Working for you, Floriana Boardman, ABC News 4.
You know what? I'm really proud. I don't want to get ahead of myself. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. I feel good about the outpouring of support. I feel good that people, at the very least, if they're not as up to date on this story, they understand that, hey, this nonprofit, it does all these good things, or allegedly good things, throughout the Low Country, and they provide all these grants. But what qualifies them to really weigh in to broadly reshape education here in the Low Country, and thusly it would not thusly, and inevitably it would also have ripple effects around the state. We already seen that with Meeting Street Academy and whatnot. Let me put my phone down, just making sure I don't miss anything important. Sometimes y'all text me stuff off the record, but let me put it. But no, I'm really glad that people are questioning community's placement in this. If I got off track, so y'all, I apologize. All right, Charleston County School District Board will be deciding if the $32 million will be invested in the Coastal Community Foundation's proposal to reimagine schools. If reimagine schools proposal is passed, if it passes, y'all, it will affect 23 targeted schools in CCSD. I'm going to go to Facebook, because shout out to the homie. I do not have Facebook on my phone, y'all. Y'all keep sending me stuff. I ain't gonna open it on my phone. I took that stuff off. All right, so last night, I know AJ had, I wanted to go to that page, though. What's that page? That, All right, anyway. Let me go to, I don't want y'all to see my business. What is it, Black Parents? What was it? That AJ? Let me just go to AJ's page. Yeah, Low Country Black Parents Association. So AJ's been all over it. He's done 2 videos. 4 days ago, he did this video to try to clear up confusion on the concerns regarding reimagine schools. And then last night he followed up. I'm trying to find last night's video. See all. Okay, here's last night's. I had to hop out early. Joy saw me in there saying the most. I want to get to a part that I found very all of it is important, but there's a part that I wanted to kind of fast forward to.
There's been a whirlwind of conversations and dialogue with various groups regarding what this proposal is, what it isn't, how it impacts schools, how it impacts teachers, how it impacts students. And so what we wanted to do tonight, again, is walk people through what this proposal is, as well as help individuals find information on their own regarding this. So one of the things that we want to start out with is how this proposal originated and why it is being brought forth now. And to do that, we want to make sure that people understand the law change that allows.
This part was really important. So what the other education advocates have been sharing frequently and widely has been like, hey, this innovation schools, this legislation came down the pike. It was approved. Henry McMaster came to Meeting Street Academy with Ben Navarro, billionaire debt collector Ben Navarro, came and signed this legislation. So that was like the primer to set up for now the subsequent policy prescriptions being crafted by those in favor of privatization of public schools, like Ben Navarro. And this is the thing, for those who are newer to the content and don't understand why I keep going at a philanthropist, there needs to be a paradigm shift. Ben Navarro is not this benign philanthropist. Oh, Mika, you know, I've spoken to him, and the tournament, I really like his daughter, and I went to school with it had nothing to do with the personal. His politics are trash. I don't know the man. I don't care about that. But we've fallen for, and I'm saying we as a collective, we've fallen for that shtick, right? Where he's allowed to call himself and bill himself as a philanthropist. Meanwhile, he's doing his damnedest to undermine public education here in Charleston and subsequently throughout the state. This is a money grab. If you have like icky feelings about Betsy DeVos and what she did as her time as Secretary of Education, right? At the federal level, you should feel the same way you feel. And I'm not talking about partisan discomfort. Something should bother you about Betsy DeVos holding that space that she held as education secretary. Something should really bother you about her involvement, given what her family has supported in the past and what they've done their millions, if not billions at, right? Ben Navarro is not a philanthropist. That's the PR spin. Check out the Wall Street Journal report understand this is a cash grab, and people understand that this is a big piggy bank. Education is a huge piggy bank, and people like billionaires like Ben Navarro, like Anita Zucker, have been doing their damnedest to undermine public education by putting a smiling face on it. And the other thing they do that Ben Navarro is doing, and Anita Zucker does this as well with a lot of those cradle to careers and all these other things, they like to put a black face on it, like as a leader, so that it's harder for black people to challenge. So when we see all these black people wearing T-shirts that say Charleston Rise, or we see a black candidate, a black coalition for kids candidate like Eric Mack, right? We're some of us we're still tribal, and we don't interrogate each other's politics. We assume, it's okay that Lewis is advocating for Harry Griffin, even though he's out here giving out food, through his community center. Okay, Eric Mack, he went to my church on Wamala. So no, you can't assume any of that. Like you gotta kind of like parse through their politics, but they're banking on people not making educated decisions. They shroud a lot of their policy making in secrecy. There's a reason why they chose CCF to be the person to push the Trojan horse through the door. They chose Darren because he is a black man, right? So, and that's why they chose also Maurice Washington, who has the most abhorrent political views, right? There's a reason why they chose Maurice Washington, because he's a black man. There's a reason why that these nonprofits that are very pro Meeting Street Academy, very pro school privatization, is the reason why those executive directors are black women. You feel me? That's the reason why Meeting Street Academy has almost all black students, if not 100% black students. You feel what I'm saying? So that to me alone is insulting enough to think that we're not able, that AJ is not able, that other men are not able, other women are not able, people of color are not able to say, hey, you know what? Just because you're black doesn't mean we're on the same side, right? Case in point, Black MAGA. In the chat, I just want to go back up to a comment that was from a few minutes ago, I'm sure. LQJU says, right, always question new policies and takeovers when those impacted are not consulted. That's to Joy's point about there were no educators or principals involved, right? Justin, how you doing? Justin, you says one encouraging thing in Wolf at the schoolhouse door is that these measures have routinely been rejected by citizens. You ain't lying. So that's what got me through. That's why I like Wolf at the schoolhouse door. I mean, because I really dug in. I got 2 copies of this Little Mama. I want the other copy because it had all my notes. I have no clue what the other copy is, but thank God, because of an error by Amazon, I've got 2 copies. So like that's one thing last night in finishing this, Justin. Like, and going back to some of the other chapters, especially around like credentials and how they're trying to like push these lesser educated, uncertified teachers. I don't know what the verbiage is. Y'all are gonna keep me honest in the chat. But the one thing that kept me turning the page here is that it didn't feel bleak. It felt like, whoa, like, oh shit. Oh, I didn't know Clinton did all that. I didn't know Obama. Like, what? It does that, right? It singed my eyebrows thoroughly, right? But it tells you, like, it shows you where there are places there are areas of weakness in their approach, and we're seeing that bear out even in this fight today with the school board, that the fight that we're currently all engaged in. So let me finish reading your comment, and then we're gonna let AJ play a little bit more, and then pick up someplace else. All right. So a wolf at the schoolhouse door. You said the one reassuring or encouraging thing, these measures have been routinely rejected by citizens who put up for vote or challenge it. Right. But it won't stop privatization zealots from trying different avenues, and they're very shape-shifty, very right. Oh, Joy, you dropped in the phrase that pays. Who's at the front of the class? What? Who's getting the pizza party? What? Philanthrocapitalist. He is a philanthrocapitalist, and he's also a disaster capitalist in my estimation, because he like, it's like they're very keen on finding like the blood in the water, like failing school districts. Even though I don't subscribe to that language, the schools are not failing. We're failing, like in terms of like the people in charge need to do better by our kids. But yeah, definitely. Let's keep going.
For the Coastal Community Foundation and any other group.
Oh, I didn't know the interim superintendent was Coalition for Kids. Ew. I didn't know that.
for that matter, to be able to put forth such a proposal. So tonight I will also be sharing my screen in an attempt to let you guys be able to find out how you can research on your own and read this information for you.
So I'm going to invite y'all, or this is what I neglected to do. I meant to include this clip. I didn't mean to freeze my man like that.
So.
Okay. I meant to include a link to this. That was an oversight. I wanted to include a link to this so you can kind of watch on your own. But what I like what AJ did, I'm trying to see if I can just get to the, he breaks down the law, right? That came into place, but we're going to Google that anyway. And then what I did like is that I see you, AJ. I'm just saying this. I see you pulling the meat. I see you sharing news clips. Let's keep going. Let's keep democratizing information. Come with the facts, right? So we're gonna find this piece right here. This is Spartanburg. This is the WSPA. I'm gonna play the same video that he played, and it within the copy of the news piece. They talk about the School of Innovation bill, right? So this is from April of 2021. So let me go ahead and find it. I'm gonna close out Facebook. Shout out to AJ. You a real one. Let me give you some applause. Yeah. Let's see. It might not even be on YouTube. Let me see. It might be somewhere else. All right, Schools of Innovation. I got you in the chat. WSPA. Yeah, 7. Let's see if we get that. Yeah, I spelled things wrong. That's me. Here we go. All right, here we go. This should be it. Yeah, so back in April, again, education advocates have been sounding the horn very loudly regarding this issue. But here, Spartanburg, again, yeah, this is the piece. Henry McMaster visited Spartanburg Monday morning to sign School of Innovation bill impacting districts across the Palmetto State. I don't know why I thought he was down here in Charleston. Forgot they had different campuses. Here we go. Trying to unmute. Hold up. What the hell? Oh, no thanks.
To a new way of learning for students. And 7 News' Kimberly.
I want to rewind that because that framing is kind of gnarly.
Spent the morning in Spartanburg signing a School of Innovation bill, opening the door to a new way of learning for students. And 7 News' Kimberly Brown has the story.
Meeting Street Academy in Spartanburg's District 7 is an educational model that elected officials want to duplicate.
So, yeah, this is the picture.
McMaster's signature makes it.
Wait, so that. Y'all, this clip, this is not letting me be great. So I'm gonna let it rock. Let me just, the volume sounds low. I have everything turned up, but I'll let it rock and I won't stop it.
Legal for school districts across the Palmetto State to open more than one School of Innovation. These schools work independently of traditional schools in their district. They are free to have longer academic years, and the school starts for students at 3 years of age.
A School of Innovation is a school that has the freedom, a little bit of flexibility to do whatever is best for the child.
That means
all these black faces are intentional.
To get students the help they need with issues at home and with academics. The curriculum at Meeting Street Academy is Eureka Math and Witten Wisdom. Faculty and staff work with students and their families to identify challenges at home and, if necessary, partner with community agencies to help eliminate those challenges. House Bill 3589 takes restrictions off school districts.
But it was limited. We could only have one such innovative school per district. And we have 79 school districts.
The effort to get the bill passed took a lot of conversations and negotiations among elected officials. Meeting Street Academy is in Representative Rosalind Henderson Myers' district. She and other lawmakers helped to get it passed.
Because of the success of Meeting Street Academy here, legislatures throughout the country are looking more into public-private.
I will say this. I got to pause it here. After seeing some of these really thoughtful, and I'm sure these are really thoughtful and passionate members of the community. This woman here and the other, I think she was the principal or the other administrator that was featured. I will say this. I am amazed and shocked by how so many folks, and I shouldn't be shocked because I fell for it. And I fell for a light pitch, right, from Josh Bell. But I guess, and I'm not saying I expect more. I thought that there'd be more teachers of color naturally speaking up against this, recognizing for what it is. I just thought that, I assumed that. And what that tells me is not so much to place the blame on them. What that tells me is that they're being very savvy. They're striking all the right emotional notes. They're saying all the right things to persuade Black people to thinking that, hey, we want you to participate in your own demise. We want you to participate in your children's, the demise of your children's, school systems. We want you to participate in that. I have to, and especially after reading, finishing A Wolf at the Schoolhouse Door. They talk about the marketing. They talk about all the tools and the tricks and the ploys and the money. They talk about all of that. And so I guess I entered into this thinking like, damn, why aren't there more AJs? Why aren't there more AJs out here doing what they're doing? And then I realized, oh, they got bamboozled, right? Like we all, and not saying I don't want to take away the agency either. Some of them might be pro privatization, right? They might be, but it's really interesting to see so many Black faces as the face, and it's really complicated for a Black community member like myself, because this is where I get into trouble 100% of the time. Whenever I go after a nonprofit that has a Black ED, oh my God, oh, you Uncle Tom, oh, you don't want to see Black people winning, oh, I gotta have my, like, I'm like, dude, I'm not, like, this is, and that's the complication that they're trying. Those are the seeds of confusion and derision that they're sowing. Let me go back up real quick before I let the last few seconds play, and then I'll read the chat, because you dropping gems in the chat over here on Twitch.
Partnerships.
There are 284 students at Meeting Street. The classrooms are small, and students start school at the age of 3. The school year is longer, and the school days are too. There's no cost to attend. Medical care is provided on campus, and there's an
same facade,
program to help retain the best teachers.
But now we'll be able to have multiple.
There go Charleston Rise. Now they in Spartanburg, right? They in Spartanburg with a Charleston Rise or Rise Charleston.
The schools, and we believe that it will improve the student education, especially for Black and brown kids.
At this point, there is a waiting list for students to get into Meeting Street Academy. Reporting from Spartanburg, Kimberly Brown, 7 News.
They present these schools as like a silver bullet, like a magic solution, a panacea for all things, all things plaguing our public schools. Meanwhile, I gotta bring this up. I gotta bring this up. Meanwhile, like, what really is killing, so this is the fun, oh my God, my dad gonna kill me. Oh, I didn't ask for his permission. My dad was talking about the one like a few weeks ago. I had to start learning how to record him whenever he just goes off on a rant about like old Wamala and whatnot. But I won't play it unless I listen to it first and edit it and shit. It won't play my daddy like that. But what my dad was going on and on about was like St. John's High School. Y'all know that's on Johns Island. And he was saying like, Mika, that was a white school. And then integration happened and all the white people just fled, right? And like, he started outlining his experience of his sisters, my aunts. Granted, remember now, my dad's born in 1939. So this is way back when, right? But he was talking about how the many changes of the schools that still exist. Friesen now is a Montessori school, right? And he was just going on and on about the changes that he's seen over time in the area, and how all of it really is steeped in segregation. Like, and it was a very like unsophisticated but brilliant account of his lived experience and how this fight is so persistent and how it's rooted in like old Jim Crow politics, right? So what I wanted to do was bring up again, also, we're gonna get into the innovations bill because that's broad, that's policy that impacts the entire state. But what I want to do is focus back on the Low Country, or bring the focus back to the Low Country, and revisit the TIF slide deck. Shout out Friends of Gadsden Creek. Shout out to my girl Amron. Amron and I were on boots on the ground this past weekend, and back to green. A lot of work, had fun, had a lot of fun. But anyway, Amron and her friends from Pratt, of course, y'all know the TIF district. But what's important, again, I'm gonna keep showing this, right? Just present. What happened to the present? Okay. I'm going to keep showing this slide right here. I know you can't really see it. Please go to the Friends of Gadsden Creek website. It's friendsofgadsdencreek.com. Go to it on Instagram, right? So this is the Horizon TIF. This is just the Horizon TIF, right? So Horizon TIF, this is the one over there that impacts schools like Burke and communities over there. So what they've been doing, and this actually relates to the bid conversation as well. What they've been doing, so the majority of the funding reallocated away from school operations. So Charleston has already, the city of Charleston has already taken this much money, over $1 million, right? As of 2020, over $1 million, they've taken this to fund projects like West Edge. West Edge was not financially solvent. That's the reason why they didn't fill in or couldn't fill in the remaining 4 acres on top of some other logistical issues. But this is what they've been doing. So you've been robbing from our schools. And so I guess why I wanted to bring up the whole, what made me think about my dad was that the St. John's High School used to be a well-funded, well-run, and I don't know the state of it now, but I remember back in high school having to go to a summer program in there and thinking that, oh my God, where the fuck am I at? It was horrible. The facilities were horrible, and that's back in the 90s, right? But with Johns Island now, it's predominantly black and brown, and a lot of people talk about performance there and challenges that school faces. Well, how did it get that way? It got like that through years of policy like the TIFs, right? That take from our county operations, our city operations, right? They take from all these different areas, but specifically they found, hey, we'll take the taxes that will go toward public education, that will go to Burke in this Horizon TIF. This not even the other TIFs, right? It's like 11 of them. Take that money and put it to fund things like, now this is funding development. But the same type of ethos. So what it does is when you rob Burke and we rob schools like Burke with policies like this, with TIFs like this, what you do now, you make it easy for the wolves at the schoolhouse doors, like Navarro, like Zucker. You make it easy for them to make an argument. Your schools are underperforming. Well, your schools are not doing what they need to do, right? So the following slides, I don't spend enough time on the following slide after that graph, and I got you in the chat. I'm coming back, because y'all are dropping like gems. So we do here, Amron and the crew from Pratt do make, they give you pros and cons, right? I'm not gonna focus on the positive right now, but I wanna see. Let me see. Right. So negative impacts redirects funds away from schools and general city funds, right? Zero-sum game, because it's a zero-sum game, the TIFs are, and you could say the same thing with the whole school privatization efforts, zero-sum game, because it incentivizes businesses to relocate from other jurisdictions into the TIF jurisdiction. And that's why when you wonder, like, how did Upper King Street's growth happen, right? It didn't happen overnight. Let's go back up real quick and look at the TIF. Let me see if they have the other TIFs. Yeah. So here, there's about 11 TIFs, I believe 9 are on the peninsula, right? So here you have the King Street Gateway TIF, right? So that's right here, and this is the Horizon TIF over here. Back the green is in blue, and I know y'all can't really see it that well, but the King Street, there's a King Street TIF that already exists that does the same thing that the Horizon TIF does. So even going back to the big conversation, what you need more? Well, you've been redirecting funds to these projects for a minute. So what do but what you want to know, you want to account for why there's been so much growth on Upper King and other areas over there, is because of the TIF. It's attractive. They're making it attractive for businesses, right? They're taking money from schools to fund these projects, to fund this growth, to displace more and more everyday regular people. Because, the black and brown people and the old and the elderly and the poor people, they're the first ones to go. And now I think white folk are waking up and like, oh shit, we next. Oh yeah. When we say oppression is linked, it's linked. When we say that the patriarchy will undermine us all, or capitalism will undermine us all, this is a prime example. You can't, when it's a black issue, is when you should definitely start looking like, yo, why are they doing this to these black people? Because if they do it to them, they're gonna do it to me. And you got people who have decent jobs, finding it very difficult to live in Charleston, especially on or near the peninsula. And you have to ask yourself, well, what's going on? But yeah, we're seeing it now. So now they're going for mom and pop. But I never thought I'd see the day. This don't sound real weird. I never thought I'd see the day where they literally were like, well, fuck your local business, because this is exactly what these policies are. A huge middle finger, right? All right, I'm gonna go back into the chat. Jesus, good chat. Please keep chatting too. Please keep chatting. It's really important because I do go back and I read. I want to go back to the ESSER. Is Esther? Do people pronounce it as Esther? I believe I heard that last night. I don't know if I heard it or read it, but Reimagine, Joy, you said this earlier. Reimagine looks to use ESSER funds, ESSER funds, but they did not go through the proper procedure to ask for that money. And I saw, shout out to Emily. She was in the comments asking questions as well. What's her name? The young lady, Emily from, we all know the whole 77 story. Emily Kerr. All right, she asked about that too, because she applied for her nonprofit, right? And it was like crickets. All right, so they didn't go through the proper channels. Schools like Burke applied for ESSER money and were rejected, yet Goss thinks he can do whatever he wants. Justin, you said in the chat, they aren't failing, they're being intentionally starved. Absolutely, we just illustrated that with the TIFs, right? Let me just make it bigger while we talking. Okay. Joy, you went on to say something. Let me see. I guess Brianne says, why were schools like Burke rejected? And then Joy, you said federal rescue funds. And you answered Brianne. You said they haven't said specifically. I think even when Emily, I don't want to read too much into Emily Kerr's statement on AJ's video, but it felt like even Emily was vague about the status of her request. There's a lot of vagary around that, but you said they haven't said, Joy, you said they haven't said specifically, but during a school board meeting, they said applications were denied for lack of specificity. That is so cornball. Reimagine is vague as hell, Joy says, right? And has holes the size of the Grand Canyon, right? Yeah. Thank you for adding that too, Joy. I appreciate you. Right. Same facade. You said sounds like the school also functions as childcare. You talking about when we were watching the Meeting Street Academy. And I'm telling you, y'all, if you read a wolf at the schoolhouse door. If I inverted that throughout the day, I apologize. A wolf at the schoolhouse door. If you read that, you understand. Again, they want low educated. They want teachers, instructors. They want to decertify, or they want to allow them to teach and educate kids without having any type of advanced degrees or education in that field. To me, that's and I'm not diminishing what a daycare does, but it's turning it from a place of learning to more of a custodial, hey, after school program versus an actual education system that has a curriculum and certain things. It's transforming it to look more like just daycare. Just like an after school program. And that's not what we want. And no shade to people who run after school programs. You get what I'm saying, right? Because guess what? And the book says this. One thing, the wealthy and the white, they're going to go to schools where the teachers have bachelors and masters. They're going to go, their kids are going to go learn from educators. So that's the other thing. Ben Navarro is not sending his child to a Meeting Street Academy, right? I know his children are a little older, but he's not sending. Is he sending? I don't think so, right? He ain't trying to look, it's good enough for my kids. Even if he did send his kids to a Meeting Street Academy, best believe they're getting supplemental education and other things, other places, right? I don't know if he pulled that trick of hey, my kids go here. I don't know if he did that, so I don't want to speak unintelligently, right? El Cool J, you offered up in the chat, it's a web of deception, all right? Unless the light is on, questions asked, it sounds good on it from the outside. Yeah. Small cost, probably a small cost of 10. All right, so Joy, you said Charleston Rise is run by Linda Ruda out of Washington, D.C. And the chair is Josh Bell. Josh Bell got his hands in everything. Allie, you chimed in. You says, okay, you off. Okay. What? I'm off. Okay, I got to get that. I got to get that later, Allie. Okay. Let me see. Any other statements I want to read out loud? Oh, same side. You said you think your cousin went to St. John's, and it wasn't, but it wasn't in the 90s. Okay, it wasn't good. No, it wasn't. I got cousins who went there who turned out great. Hey, good morning, D. But it's been struggling, but it's not because it's no fault of the people. Community members on Johns Island, Wamala, and all surrounding areas are super engaged. B-Man, you said Portugal, yup. Cooper School, Ashley Hall, Charleston Day School, so many high-end private schools, right? In Charleston. Yep. Okay, let's move forward. And I did want to at least go to that Schools of Innovation bill real quick. Oh, we wanted to read. Oh, shit. Let me see. I think I act like my mom, like when I close a window, I can't go back. I wanted to read the copy from the story. All right. I think I did. Right. So Governor McMaster visited Spartanburg. We already watched it. Monday morning to sign the School of Innovation bill impacting. Okay. No. So let me go ahead and just find the School of Innovation bill. Like just specifically. And this is what AJ too. I'm gonna invite y'all, please. AJ has been leading on this. I'm echoing a lot of people. And we gotta get to the Paul Bowers piece. We gotta get to it. We're gonna get there. It's a lot. So yeah, so this is from the 124th session, 2021 to 2022. Right. All right, general bill, blah, blah, blah. But you could, okay, I'm not gonna be reading this. This is it. Oh yeah, summary school of choice. Yeah, this is what he read from last night. Yeah. So yeah, school of choice redesignated as schools of innovation procedures. And like AJ alluded to last night, it is very wonky. It is very confusing. And I think he does a way better job than I could in clarifying things and also, yeah, just cleaning up some of the confusion, which is intentional. But also, the bills and the language within is not easy to navigate as well. But I wanted to just show y'all that y'all can take a picture. Y'all can take a look at School of Innovation bills. You literally just do what I just did. If you don't have the exact bill number, you could do what I just did, which is just Google Schools of Innovation bill, South Carolina, and then you can go right there. All right, so I'm gonna close that out. And now let's get to, I'm gonna go back to my newsletter is like my agenda. So yeah, let's get to it. Let's get to to Paul's piece. All right. So dark money in the Holy City. So Paul, if y'all are not subscribed to, this is the bargain that some of y'all have made with my content. Like I unsubscribed from the Post and Courier, and now I'm on your Patreon, and I want to say thank you. See if you can juggle another subscription, whatever that subscription is. See if you can juggle it and start supporting Paul Bowers with his Substack, right? So he said, Dark Money in the Holy City. I wrote about school privatization for Diane Ravage's blog. Another book I copped. I only read through the first chapter. Diane Ravage. Y'all know I've already featured at least a picture of this book on a thumbnail. Did not read it, but Diane wrote this book, Slaying Goliath: The Passionate Resistance to Privatization in the Fight to Save America's Public Schools. So far is so fire. It is so fire already. I love the language. I love the framing. Very helpful, very useful. If you want to know what this fight is really about, honestly, I don't even know which one to tell people to read first. Joy, you can mention that in the chat. But it doesn't matter. If you get through both of these books, I've already finished A Wolf at the Schoolhouse Door. That was all on point. This one is already very promising. So just got it yesterday from the library. First time in the library since the pandemic. I just realized that too. I've been buying books. Been buying a lot of books. I've not been checking out a lot. All right. So I'm going to read this a little bit. All right. The education writer Diane Ravage asked me to write about a history of school privatization efforts in the Charleston County School District. I used to be the education reporter at the newspaper in town, so I dove into the archives and pulled together a piece that ran on Diane's blog. The title is Dark Money in the Holy City, A Short History of School Privatization in Charleston, right? So what Paul did that I didn't, he did link to AJ's Facebook video that we just saw a little bit of. And he said you could read a proposal here. What proposal is this? I didn't click on this one. Oh, this is the reimagined school proposals, right? So like, Paul does his damn thing. Let's click on those. He really does. He does a really good job kind of tying up all the loose ends. So here's the blog from Diane Ravage. Paul Bowers, education reporter, was education reporter at the Post and Courier. He was, right. He wrote this post at her request. This is so dope. All right, so let's go. Let's go. If you don't know where you stand on this issue, please, you have to start with Paul Bowers locally in terms of reporting and whatnot. This is how I met Paul Bowers, was when he asked me about what happened with me and Coalition for Kids. I don't know how helpful I was, but that's when I got introduced to his reporting, his work. Before I start reading, let me check out the chat. I don't want to be neglectful. All right. Brian, you said something earlier. You said you just don't understand why they can't fund all the schools. Yeah, racism. Seriously, this is a segregation issue. This is an issue of segregation. And I'm not trying to oversimplify it either, but that's what I hope to also get into here. Back when, y'all know, when I worked for Cypress, so part of the Giving Project, we talked about the roots of capitalism and how capitalism was born largely through a black woman's body, through the plantation economy. Capitalism was born there, but we also started to talk about, of course, Jim Crow philanthropy, as you see here in the slide I made, right? So this is a slide I made. I wanted to lift up the work of this Emily Masgadi, right? And so why am I bringing this up now? And I'm sure Paul's piece will speak to it, the history, right? But what was interesting about this young lady's, her writing, let me exit out, because I have notes underneath the slide. So what's interesting about her writing is that she had a piece right here called Jim Crow Philanthropy, right? And in it, in the beginning, it talks about education, right? So this is what, you can't talk about education in the South. You can't talk about education in the South. And I got another book that's going to help hopefully give me that education. You can't talk about education in the South without talking about Jim Crow, without talking about, the white supremacist origin of this country. And also you can't talk about education in the South without talking about Reconstruction and how our forefathers, our black and allies, our black forefathers helped to create public education system. And that's largely why it's been under attack ever since. You can't separate those two. And some folks will try to argue that you have to separate the two for expedience or for whatever reason. You can't separate the white supremacist roots of this effort to privatize public schools, right? And to make high quality education only accessible to the ultra rich, right? Versus me and you and everyday regular folk and their kids having access. Like, we all should have access to a quality education. It should not be reserved for a select few. But that's the road we're going down, right? Because I would argue that Ben Navarro will never send his child to a Meeting Street Academy school unless he has, and y'all can provide me the receipts. So I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna hop back over to Paul. Education for African American children in the early 20th century underwent dramatic change with the help of Chicago-based Jewish philanthropist named Julius Rosenwald. Please research the Rosenwald schools, y'all. Julius Rosenwald was the CEO of Sears Roebuck and Company, founded the Julius Rosenwald Fund in 1917. While millions of Americans during the Great Depression were familiar with the Sears catalog, they did not know that by 1937, the Rosenwald Fund had constructed over 5,300 primary school buildings in 15 states. Enough. Now, and this is not what you think. This is not what Navarro's doing. This is the opposite, right? This is the opposite. Rosenwald Fund constructed 5,300 schools. Enough facilities to accommodate 1/3 of all African American children in the United States South, right? Public education, this is the part I want to read, and I'm going to bounce back over to Paul's piece. Public education took a different path in the South compared to other parts of the United States. There were factors at play here. The major industry of the South was cotton, which set it apart from the industrial North, and the more varied economy of the West. The biracial nature of the South was another distinctive feature of this region, with 9 out of 10 African Americans living there at the beginning of the 20th century, right? So I'm gonna stop it there. But like I said, if you wanna understand what's at the heart of this issue, and both these books talk about it and call it out. Diane Ravitch in Slaying Goliath, she calls it out up top. Like, she just like, this is white supremacist at its core. And that's why the fight, there's always been fights against public ed. There's always been a battle against public ed. But let's get to Paul's the blog contribution. All right. So here we go, Paul. So every few years, South Carolina becomes a battleground for school privatization. It looks like 2022 is going to be one of those years. Back in the 2000s, the New York real estate investor Howard Rich backed a series of South Carolina candidates pushing school vouchers, which would funnel public education funds into private schools. More recently, we have seen efforts by Governor Henry McMaster and the state legislature to create a Tennessee-style turnaround district to deregulate, emphasis on that word, to deregulate for-profit online charter schools via an authorizer shopping and to divert federal COVID-19 relief funds from public schools to private schools. I did that really bad, really poorly. I read very poorly. Let me do it again. All right. More recently, we have seen efforts by Governor Henry McMaster and the state legislature to create a Tennessee-style turnaround district to deregulate for-profit online charter schools via authorizer shopping and to divert, I see you in the chat, and to divert federal COVID-19 relief funds from public schools, think TIF, right, from public schools to private schools. Teachers and parents have had to fight these advances tooth and nail and have so far kept most of the damage at bay. Lately, it seems the tip of the spear for privatization efforts in South Carolina is the Charleston County School District, a starkly segregated and unequal district anchored by a world-renowned tourist destination, right? All right. The Charleston County School Board is scheduled to vote January 10th on a proposal called Reimagine Schools that would allow a private third party to make decisions at 23 predominantly black, important, you ask why is this happening, at 23 predominantly black schools, right? Paul goes on to say, I thought now would be a good moment to revisit the history of school board power struggles and dark money campaigns in Charleston. The pressure to privatize the government public schools, the pressure to privatize the governance of public schools often comes from two of South Carolina's billionaires. The chemical manufacturer, come on.
Now listen.
Call her what she is.
Now listen.
Say what it is.
Now listen.
Come on.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga.
Yeah. Welcome to the live stream. If you don't like cursing, it's probably not gonna be for you. If you don't mind a little bit of profanity punctuating your morning, I'm your girl. All right, let's say it again. The governance to privatize the pressure to privatize the governance of public schools often comes from two of South Carolina's billionaires: the chemical manufacturer CEO Anita Zucker and the debt collection agency CEO Ben Navarro. All right, I just call him a billionaire debt collector. Right, billionaire debt collector. Money so funny. Money so icky that the NFL wouldn't even let you try to own a team. You know how bad your money gotta be for the NFL, for these, you know how bad your money gotta be? If the NFL owners, these plantation owners out here saying, nah, dude, your money kind of, nah, we don't want to be associated with debt collection. Nah, fucked up your money gotta be for the NFL to say, nah, we don't want you, can't play here. All right, Joy, you put a very husky comment in the chat. I'm going to read it. All right. All right. So you responded to Brienne, I guess. Let me see. Is it a back and forth conversation? I don't want to jump into something. All right. They can't fund all the schools. Get it, yeah. Shout out to Paul. All right, Joy, you said funding. You talked to Brienne in the chat. You said funding is tied to the number of students enrolled. What has happened here is these folks, and you put this in parentheses, the ex-superintendent Darren Goss from CCF and et cetera, have done a lot of work to starve these schools, right? Just like Justin said, they targeted schools as acceleration schools. That's another name, y'all. Y'all have heard all these names: acceleration, innovation, all that, right? They targeted schools as acceleration schools Charleston County School District never did anything to help these schools, only put a target on them. People use the school choice to not attend these schools, so their attendance goes down. Oh yeah. So this is classic white flight from schools, right? So once they're targeted as acceleration schools, white families be like, I don't want young Billy to go here. I don't want young Samantha to go here, right? And I'm being silly, but you get what I'm saying. Basically, and there's a lot of white liberals who do this. So this is part of the problem. And I understand there's tough decisions around where to send your child, but there has to be I don't know. I don't want to overstep because I've never had to make this decision personally. I'm just a byproduct of Charleston County Public Schools. Okay, so you're saying, Joy, that they never did anything to really intervene in the first place. They just put the target on them. That target is designating them as acceleration schools, which is just a fancy term for saying this school is underperforming, air quotes, right? People use choice, vouchers and all that other stuff, charter, whatever, to attend other schools, right? So the attendance in those schools, think about Burke and whatnot, goes down, and then the money goes down. And then on top of that, to add insult to injury, you got a TIF over these districts, right? You got a TIF that takes money from this school, so it's just adding insult to injury. What's up, Jessica? Nice to see you. Do you miss all this education, Michigan, Jessica? Do you miss it? I'm sure you got some up there. All right, Joy, you says now CCF is swooping in to save these schools, right? And that's the thing, too. I really like with the bid, and I'm going to keep making these parallels because y'all going to figure this out, that you none of us here in this chat can afford to be single issue constituents or single issue residents of Charleston. And like Joy, every day I don't talk about education, but what do? You chime in and you join the conversation when we're talking about other things, right? We talk about race issues, social justice issues. And I'm just using Joy as an example. Like, I want y'all to understand this. And I got a text message. I won't reveal the name of the person, but the text message was like, I'm feeling demoralized. I'm feeling like this is a losing battle. What do I do? And I'm like, that the feeling is natural to feel like we're literally everyday people going up against billionaires who have a certain vision, for our country, for our state, for our city. So for you to feel exhausted and demoralized is natural. Feel it. Don't run away from, don't hide from it. But there has to be a moment where you collect yourself and you figure out a way to fight in the way you can fight. And I'm saying all that because you're going to hear me keep comparing these moves to privatize public schools with the bid initiative. It's a, what do you call it? It's a branch from the same tree. And also it could further underscores that y'all oppression is linked. Patriarchy, it overlaps with racial justice. Racial justice overlaps with environmental justice, and so on and so forth. And the fight for indigenous sovereignty is linked to other things. Like, so all of this is linked. If there was a Venn diagram, there'd be enough overlap for you to understand how this works. One doesn't work without the other. So when someone uses the phrase white supremacy, I know some people are tired of hearing that phrase, but it's at the core and at the root of a lot of these issues. And Joy did a great job illustrating that. Right. D, you dropped something in the chat. You said that's why school choice is so detrimental. It supports white flight. That couldn't have said it better, right? Yeah. So many white liberals crying safety. Right. Come on. We've seen this in housing. We've seen this with NIMBYism, or we've seen this with gentrification. Right? Like that. I ain't gonna do it. All right. D, you went on to say another comment. You went on to drop another comment. You says, and when the numbers go down, to Joy's point, when the numbers go down in the public schools, the first thing you start hearing is that they can't afford to keep it open, right, with low numbers, right? That's coming for Burke. That's coming. That's right around the corner, right? Unfortunately. All right, so let's go back to this. So shout out to Paul for coming off the ropes. I gotta put a wrestling sound effect from the 80s. I gotta put one on here. Coming off the ropes. Shout out any old WWF fans. If there's an iconic match, let me know, and I'm gonna try to find it and find the audio for it. I need something that communicates like a huge wrestling move, like jumping off the ropes and like, whatever. All right, so but Paul jumps off the ropes here, right? A la Hulk Hogan or Ultimate Warrior, whoever, right? So he goes in with Ben Navarro, right? So sometimes working in tandem, like, so sometimes this is, speaking of a wrestling analogy, tag team. So sometimes Zucker and Ben Navarro work in concert. They work in tandem. Sometimes they work independently, right? Zucker and Navarro tend to promote more charter schools and private takeovers of public schools. Zucker and her advocacy organization, the Tri-County Cradle to Career Collaborative, fell for that one too. Fell for that one too. I'm like, oh, this is so great. All these black women running this stuff. Oh my God. Oh, this can't be bad. What? Show me the Carfax. All right, so Zucker and her advocacy organization, the Tri-County Cradle to Career Collaborative, were involved in a 2015-2016 effort to create a turnaround district at the state level, modeled after failed efforts in Tennessee, Louisiana, and Michigan. The proposal involved lumping the state's lowest performing schools into a new district and bringing in third-party operators, CCF, bringing in third-party operators to manage them. Similar bills were introduced in Georgia and North Carolina around the same time. But the idea never received serious discussion in South Carolina in the State House. Navarro is best known nationally for his failed 2018 come through. See, Paul. Oh, I get it. Y'all see what's going on? Ric Flair, there you go. Hancock, you a real one. Ric Flair, woo. Yeah. That's a good one. See, look. Let me just let y'all know. I like it when y'all get spicy. I like it. So Paul is just over there chilling with his banjos and his cute kids and his affinity for brutalist architecture. He over there chilling, unassuming, glasses and shit. You know what I mean? Eating pizza in Park Circle. This dude, this is like, he's going after them. And he's like, this is real talk. It's so subtle. I admire people who can be subtle. I'm heavy-handed because I have never mastered subtlety, right? I'm heavy-handed because I don't know how to be subtle. I barely know how to whisper, right? Don't whisper nothing in my ear to be discreet in public because I will like, what? Like, I'm just not subtle. Paul is subtle. Navarro is best known nationally for his failed 2018.
Now listen.
His failed 2018 bid to buy the Carolina Panthers NFL team. In the financial world, he is known for his Sherman Financial Group, a privately owned firm that filed more lawsuits against defaulted credit.
Now listen.
Come through. We read the Wall Street Journal piece too. A privately owned firm that filed more lawsuits against defaulted credit card debtors than others in the industry during the COVID-19 lockdown, according to a recent Wall Street Journal investigation. In the arena of education, Navarro is known for his private meeting street schools. I got you in the chat, which are sometimes lauded as a model for improving the test scores of low-income students from at-risk communities. Since 2014, Meeting Street Schools has entered unique public-private partnerships with South Carolina public school districts, starting with the takeover of 2 elementary schools in North Charleston. All right? He knows of what he speaks. With a boost of private funding, the schools invest in wraparound services for students and their families, offer additional psychological support, place 2 teachers in each classroom, and operate on an extended school day and academic calendar. Those practices have a proven track record of success, but most schools in South Carolina lack the funding to carry them out. Meeting Street Schools, it's not sustainable. There ain't no way they're gonna keep it up. Like, after reading A Wolf at the Schoolhouse Door, it's not sustainable. Meeting Street Schools also heavily recruit staff from Teach for America. Fell for it there too. That's how Josh got me. Showed me a picture of Brittany Packnett, and I was like, oh yeah, Brittany Packnett Cunningham now. That's her married name. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. She's on all these podcasts and she's talking that blackity black stuff. Oh, I didn't have the wherewithal to know what Teach for America really was back when Coalition for Kids started ramping up. Let me get to the chat because I subtle snipe. For real. Paul unbeholden from the PNC it's a beautiful thing to see. It's amazing, Joy. Your comment, you said it's amazing to see. It is, right? Justin, you said a few months after that failed NFL owner bid, he became a co-owner of a boutique hotel up. What? For real? Justin, did you see that 60 Minutes last night? I really wanted to watch that today, but I wanted to stay disciplined. Did y'all see that 60 Minutes last night? About Greenville and jobs? Oh, we might play a little bit of it. If y'all got a dip, I get it. This is the morning show, so I know everybody going to work and doing their thing, but we probably going to play that. And it kind of coincides, when we're talking about the Spartanburg press event and the statewide legislation, the reimagined schools, kind of coincides with it. We're going to talk about it. It was really good. My dad put me on. He's like, Mika, did you see you're not the only one working from home? I'm like, yeah, Dad, I know I'm not the only one working from home no more. I know that. My dad, now he gets it. I'm glad he watched it because now he gets what I'm trying to do. All right, let me get back to this. I'm getting distracted. Right. It's not sustainable, Joy. Let me just finish this. It's not sustainable, right? Look at Indianapolis or Darren Goss's work in Baton Rouge. We don't do enough scrutinizing of his work in Baton Rouge because I need to call the homies down there and figure out what's what. We don't do enough to look at like why he left, on what terms, or anything. Right. So let me reread this section right here. Again, this is Paul Bowers writing for Diane Ravage's blog. Diane Ravage is a staunch, well-known advocate for saving public schools, right? So Meeting Street Schools also heavily recruit staff from Teach for America and KIPP. Read the book, you'll learn all about that. And they preach the trendy mid-2010s gospel of grit, right? Grit. In fact, the disciplinary model is so gritty. Oh, he's so snarky. In fact, the disciplinary model is so gritty that one Meeting Street run elementary school suspended 1/4 of its students. God damn. I didn't know this. Suspended 1/4 of its students in a single school year before opening the schools under new management. Before opening the schools under new management, Navarro sought and received a special exemption from the state's employment protections for teachers. As a result, Meeting Street principals can hire and fire teachers at will. Oh, shit. Let me go back to that. So, in fact, it's so gritty. The disciplinary model is so gritty that one Meeting Street run school suspended 1/4 of its students in a single school year. Oh, no. And you know what, too? This is an observation I've learned. Again, I told y'all, whenever I kind of come at these black, like these, they're not black run because they're literally run by these millionaires and billionaires, but they put a black person, a figurehead, in the role of like a principal or executive director, whether it's a nonprofit that's working to privatize schools like CCF, like Charleston Rise, what's the other one I keep forgetting but keep bringing up? Palmetto Promise, right? I get into trouble because they think I'm talking about their auntie. I'm not talking about their auntie. Auntie has relatively no power. She's, your auntie and your uncle is just a figurehead. I could be more precise in my indictments, but what I'm learning, what I'm noticing too, if that statistic, so that definitely happened. They suspended 1/4 of their students. So these are predominantly, if not all, black schools led by black educators. What I'm getting is that there's also part of the instruction for the teachers and the administrators is a lot of anti-blackness. Because a lot of the things that the kids need, are probably manifesting as behavioral issues or something like that. And they're being overly policed. All right. I don't know who did this. All right. No. Oh, shout out to y'all. Oh, y'all are so dope. Okay. Y'all are so dope. Okay. Sorry. I got an email. Shout out to AJ too. If you're watching, AJ, what's up? All right. So, but I'm imagining a lot of anti-blackness is being instructed too, because a lot of times these kids need hugs. They need resources. They don't need punitive action. They don't need in-school suspension. They don't need detention. They don't need they don't need all that. They need resources. They need an outlet. They need care, not punitive measures. But I can only imagine how anti-black some of the policies are to police black bodies and I can only imagine. All right, Navarro is also closely associated with the Charleston Coalition for Kids, a dark money group that emerged in 2018 and immediately outspent all other donors combined on advertising. Shout out to Mayor Riley. At least Tecklenburg had enough sense to hop the fuck off, even though he might support it privately. I'm assuming, looking at how he moved behind the scenes, Tecklenburg might support it in silence, but at least he had the wherewithal to hop off that shit. But Riley was like, no, that's my legacy. That's my legacy. I want to displace as many people as possible in Charleston, right? All right, so the dark money group outspent all other donors combined on advertising for a slate of school board candidates. Much of the coalition's funding and spending is hidden from public view, thanks to state election law and the group's nonprofit status. But FCC records reveal it spent at least $235,000 on TV commercials alone in the run up to the 2018 school board election, 4.5 times or what all candidates combined raised for their own campaigns. Local activists, this is in parentheses, local activists estimated the coalition spending on Facebook ads and billboards and other media might have cost an additional hundreds of thousands for sure. I'd say good milli. For real. The coalition spent big on the school board election in 2020, investing $306,000 in TV commercials, including attack ads against 2 black incumbents. That was real. That was a shame. That was disgusting. 2 black incumbents. Today, six, y'all. This is the sad part. 6 of the 9 sitting Charleston County school board members have received backing from the coalition. So you have 6 Coalition for Kids members there. All right, let me see what y'all saying over here. Okay, Hancock, you say let me see. I asked about the suspension record when you interviewed there. Oh, you did? You refresh my memory. You interviewed there? Okay, you asked about the suspension record when you interviewed there, and got a vague answer. The numbers are made it looked inflated. Okay. Joy, you said also the fallout has been bad there. I heard about the fallout. That I did hear. Goss makes a mess and leaves. Oh, back in Baton Rouge. Oh. Okay. Well, we need to talk. Okay. Makes a mess and moves on. Sound familiar? All right. So Hancock, you said, I will say that Meeting Street Academy does have behavioral support specialists, and that was outlined in the news special. However, if the classroom teachers are not investing in supporting these kids, then there's only so many pullouts they can do. Right. And they're not equipped. Like, I think from gate, they're not equipped to really even anticipate that if you're going to target these schools that have been defunded, these schools that have been robbed of resources for decades, and you know how that even though these kids are young, they are a byproduct of a practice that's been in place since my dad was talking about it, right? Since my dad has gone through public schools in the South. So you can only imagine how serious some of those issues are. And they do have, like you said, to be fair to them, they do have trained specialists, but there's something missing culturally in this model that's going to cause some sort of upheaval or going to cause some sort of some issues in terms of managing behavioral outbursts or whatever it is. I don't even want to mischaracterize what's going on, what accounted for those suspensions, but that sounds crazy. If you're suspending a quarter of your kids, you got some issues in terms of how you're managing kids and how you're managing behavioral issues, right? El Kuj, you says what you are reading from Paul, and you've been covering for months. Also, I want to say thank you to that, because I ain't gonna lie, I get erased sometimes, right? I get erased. Shout out to the leaders who've been adding me to emails that I've been excluded from. Thank you. I'm gonna do the same. If I don't see your name on something, I'm gonna ask you, are you going? You there? Cause I appreciate it. And one time I was I really appreciate, we've been talking about this, right? We've been talking about this. Hold on, I'm gonna eat a piece of candy. But we've been talking about this. It's not good. Not a good idea. All right. Let me go to a video. I'm gonna break it up a little bit because I'm chewing. And I wanted to go to, this is fairly recently. So there's been this, it's Our Revolution. I'm somewhat familiar with Our Revolution, and it's some other groups as well. There was a Seattle town hall fairly recently that hosted Diane Ravitch and the authors of A Wolf at the Schoolhouse Door. So I wanted to play a little bit from that. And this is from their book. Fairly recent. This is from February. They actually, the other one, the Our Revolution. Hold on, let me go back. The Our Revolution video, I think that one, that one was from December 27th, right? And it features just Dr. Jack Schneider and Jennifer Berkshire, the authors of A Wolf at the Schoolhouse Door. But I wanted to go, since you had all three in one spot, I wanted to play a little bit from here. Get through the whole intro preamble stuff. Here we go.
Seattle, but my first virtual trip. So it's great to see you all. I'm thrilled.
I neglected to finish the point because I decided to chew. Elko J, let me say this real quick. He says also points out the huge umbrella of innovation / Meeting Street schools, discipline expulsion, as well as being anti-union, anti-labor. Come on, right? And they don't want to hire credentialed teachers at all. All of the private capitalist elements in the making, right? Right. Perfect storm. Very anti-union. Very anti-union. And shame on the Democrats for letting this shit happen. This is why we're in the situation we're in right now with the whack ass Joe Biden.
Thrilled to be able to talk with Jack and Jennifer, both of whom are wonderful writers and thinkers and great allies in terms of our fight to save public education from privatization, and ultimately the subject of their book, which is a movement to really undermine and replace and displace public education. So let me first of all begin by asking Jack and Jennifer some questions about their book. You wrote your book during the last year of the Trump administration when Betsy DeVos was the secretary, and she was certainly the greatest enemy of public education that has ever held the role of Secretary of Education. Mm-hmm. She was, in many ways, the personification of the wolf that you write about. Who is the wolf now?
Who is the wolf?
Yeah, that's a great question, Diane, and I'm so glad that it's coming from you because, in many ways, you're the person who kind of showed us the way.
Hey, Honor.
And began to make...
Honor's in the house. Let me stop being loud and wrong. Here we go. Let's keep talking.
Make an argument that something scary was happening in public education. And for the last 10 years, you've been the leading chronicler of that. So I know that you also are not relieved.
Real talk. When I was just like finding my footing in organizing spaces in Charleston, Diane Ravitch was like, that's where I started to understand what was going on. And I got it wrong even after that. I wasn't able to put all the pieces together. That's how I was able to get bamboozled by Josh Bell. But Diane is the OG when it comes to this shit. For real, for real. Shout out to Paul for getting on that blog too. And we didn't even get to the Washington Post piece.
Though Betsy DeVos is gone, you're right that, she was the greatest enemy of public education to hold that role. But the threat to public education is really not one that is a federal threat. It's really one that's playing out at the state level.
Yes.
So, when Jennifer and I first started writing this book, I think we both thought that it was a book about Betsy DeVos. We were both outraged by her. We wanted to make some kind of difference in the election that we saw coming from, a few years out, as they tend to do. And we wanted to, try to write about DeVos in a way that made sense for, both blue and red.
Joy, I see you making valuable distinctions. I'm going to read that comment after I let a little bit of this play a little bit more to illustrate what the issue is and why we're taking the stance we're taking. But actually I can do it right now. So you're saying, Joy, in the chat, you said, sorry for the lag. Meeting Street Academy is treated differently than Meeting Street Schools, right? When they started Meeting Street Schools, they said they would have 2 teachers per school. they quietly stop without letting the public know. And that's in the chapter about the whole classroom size. I believe that's in that chapter in A Wolf at the Schoolhouse Door, when they talk about classroom size and kids getting, I guess, more individualized attention, how it's not sustainable. Like there's a huge cost associated with that. So thank you for making that distinction, Joy. And keep me honest with that, because the Meeting Street schools and Meeting Street Academy confuse the shit out of me. There's been times where I've conflated the two or mixed up the two or whatever. So if there are key differences between the two, let's continue to clarify, because and the ambiguity is intentional. The ambiguity is part of the design. So I mean, I'm sure many of you have gotten it confused. I don't have kids. If I feel like if I had a little child to what's my little child's name? What's my fictitious child's name? Let me give him an obnoxious name. Gunner. Somebody, yeah, my inner Gunner. Look, Gunner. If I had little Gunner going to school, like I feel like I would be able to understand this a little bit more, but I just feel so out of my depth, right? I feel out of my depth. Academy is private. Okay. Thank you, Honor. Little
state voters and for Democrats and Republicans and independents, that made sense for them what the real threat posed by Betsy DeVos was. And as we started working on the book, what we realized is that DeVos was really the tip of the iceberg. And I think that's the perfect metaphor here, because she was this highly visible and yet less ultimately dangerous threat, where, you know, the deeper threat lies beneath the surface. I'm thinking of a line from your book, Reign of Error, Diane, in which you instructed
Reign of Error,
readers
y'all,
to, I think it was, recognize that public education is a public responsibility, not a consumer good. And if you invert that, you've got your threat, you've got your wolf.
Hold up.
Yeah, listen.
That's called motherfucking bars. All right, so I gotta give that a moment to breathe. Like a good bottle of wine. I just made that up because I watched Sideways.
Working on the book, what we realized is that DeVos was really the tip of the iceberg. And I think that's the perfect metaphor here, because she was this highly visible and yet less ultimately dangerous threat, where, you know, the deeper threat lies beneath the surface. I'm thinking of a line from your book, Reign of Error, Diane, in which you instructed readers to, I think it was, recognize that public education is a public responsibility, not a consumer good. And if you invert that, you've got your threat, you've got your wolf. And that is an aim, right? To invert that, to turn public education into a consumer good. That's playing out at the state level.
And we're seeing, like, again, this book, A Wolf at the Schoolhouse Door. I wish I had my original copy. I swear to God. I don't know how you lose a book. Like, when you ain't going nowhere, really. Not that. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I had my notes in the other book, but during, like, I think the latter third of the book, they talk about how, like, the influences of startup culture and Uber and Yelp and ratings and leave your comment in reviews. They talk about turning how these privatization forces are turning school into that type of consumer good, and it's not that. And that's why it's also important to talk about the history, to talk about its roots in Jim Crow, to talk about its roots in Reconstruction, so you understand. And also talk about how it's important, how fighting for public schools ultimately strengthens our democracy as well. So I really love that. Like, it's not a consumer good, y'all. Like it's not. It's not something. It's not tacos, right? We're not trying to rate these schools like, oh, I didn't like the elementary, the mathematics educator, Brenda, she didn't, I'm going to give her 5 stars because, you know, Billy didn't do well in that class. I'm like, no, that's not cool. I'm going to let it rock a little bit more.
Level in all sorts of states, red and blue right now. Just to the north of us, Jennifer and I both live in Massachusetts. Just to the north of us in New Hampshire, there's a voucher bill that would essentially devastate public education for the foreseeable future by channeling the state per pupil expenditure into a voucher that could be spent anywhere. Not at a public school, but at a private school, and any kind of private school.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think that we came away from this believing that we're relieved that DeVos is gone, but we're actually more scared about what's happening elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just add to that, we're so focused on what's happening at the federal level, with Biden and, the confirmations and talking about, what is his proposed Secretary of Education, Cardona, going to be like. But the real action is at the state level, and something like 23 states have proposed expansion of school choice bills, and not sort of the kind of deliberate, slow, steady expansion we've seen in the past, but some of these bills are sweeping measures. And I'm thinking of New Hampshire, as Jack mentioned, but also a state like West Virginia, where essentially what's happened is that Republicans made big gains in the legislature there in 2020. They hold all the branches of power, and they're essentially saying, you know what, we're not going to do public education anymore. We're going to give the money directly to the parents and let the parents decide what they want to do with it. We're going to take the money we're currently spending, and we're going to use that to subsidize families that already send their kids to private schools or homeschool their kids.
Right. And that's the fun. Okay, so I'm a pause it there to be a little silly, because I remember I was with it though. I was with it. Where's that video right here? Remember this, y'all?
Don't let her in the public schools right now. Come on, man.
I remember people demonizing. Like, there's sometimes where, like, protesters are OD. Like, shout out Portland. Sometimes y'all be doing the absolute most. If I see one more naked white girl sitting with her legs open in the middle of the street, I'm gonna hurt. I'm gonna make some calls. I'm not gonna hurt anybody. I'm gonna make some calls. Sometimes protesters be doing the most. Like, but this right here, with it all fucking day. Do it to cinema. You know what I mean? Call it out. Don't let her, look at this protester. Don't let her in the public schools right now.
Don't let her in the public schools right now.
Come on, educators.
Come on, man. Do not let her in.
Do not let her in.
Senators, and buying your way to the position, you should be so proud of yourself.
She should feel this level of shame.
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 Shame. Shame.
Game of Thrones her ass. Damn.
Wow. Very aggressive use of force there.
There you go. Very aggressive use of force.
We're not going to stop.
My generation's stop.
Go ahead. I just want to, like, that to me was like a very, like, I just remember that, and I didn't know, did not know the specifics of the fight for education. I wasn't in that yet. I wasn't, enmeshed in that, I guess. But I'm glad she faced resistance from the beginning to the very. I'm glad people were very vocal about her role in school privatization, and I'm glad that people from where she hails from were speaking out about how the track record isn't great there. Okay, let me see, y'all dropping links. Okay, we say hey to Misty. What's up? El Cool J, good morning. Everyone's got good manners. Good morning. Oh, I said goof. I meant good. I meant good morning, Misty. All right, let's just drop this. Justin, I'm clicking on your link. Okay, this is again the innovations link. And then what's this? What are y'all dropping these for? We already went to the right? It's all good. Goof. Anyway, okay. It's all goof. Oh shit. All right, here we go. What? Yeah. Oh, so Missy can. Okay. Oh, Missy's the updated one. Oh, new voucher. Oh, the voucher bill. I got you. Okay, Missy, let me reopen that one more time. Okay. So this is the new voucher bill. I'm gonna scroll down right here. Where did I scroll down before? Yeah, education. Oh wow, education scholarship accounts. Okay. And Joy or whomever. I don't want to keep putting Joy in the spot. I know Honors in there. What time is the school board meeting? And it is going to be on YouTube. I won't be able to watch it live or live stream it, but we'll definitely cover it tomorrow. But what time is it today? 4 p.m. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, I'm getting mad emails. It's time for me to start my day, I guess. All right, so let's bounce out. I just wanted to show that Betsy DeVos getting chased to her car. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, you shouldn't know." That's cool. All right, so I want to. This is where I have to lean in, and I want to make sure we get to the Washington Post piece. Let me click on that link from the newsletter. So I'm gonna close the newsletter out now. All right, so a new Charleston school privatization battle unfolding in Charleston. Shout out to Valerie Strauss. Right, she wrote this on January 8th. Okay, so we're gonna read this too. I'm gonna enhance this, but I wanted to. First, again, the past informs the present. I want to invite y'all, please go back and you can just go on YouTube and Google Jack Schneider, Jennifer Berkshire, Diane Ravage, and or Dr. Jack Schneider and Dr. Jennifer Berkshire, History of Education. I'm gonna click on it right now just because it's important.
Partially
like don't get into this fight without a sound grasp, without having a grasp on the history.
Go ahead, dive.
The history of privatization. We're not going to be able to watch this. So what I want to do though is watch. Remember last week when we talked about I'm gonna pull it up just for shits and giggles real quick. Sheets and giggles, Justin. I'm gonna pull it. So remember last week? I'm gonna mute it. White woman. I'm gonna mute it. And I talked about on January 6th. I talked about shout out Joni. Shout out. I talked about from Redemption. And we talked about the Redeemers and how the Redeemers were white supremacists who killed a bunch of black people, especially in Wilmington, just to overthrow democracy, like a successful coup down here in the South. And then I leaned on. I'm just refreshing your. I'm just jogging your memory. Let me see if I can get to it. I mean, we watched too much Robinette. Oh, it's up here. Here we go. I leaned on Eric Foner's, his work, right? So we're actually going back to that. So we talked about Reconstruction and why it wasn't a failed experiment. It was undermined, right? It was scuttled, right? So Eric Foner, I'm probably mispronouncing his name. He's a preeminent scholar when it comes to Reconstruction. So there was a part of that presentation from Columbia University that talked about public education. And I think this is very important. If you want to, for me, this is what's missing from a lot of movement work, is that lack of race analysis and that lack of leveraging the past public memory to inform our protests in contemporary times. So for me, I think you should start with where it all began.
But the major departure, one might say, and one of the main achievements of the Reconstruction governments, and what I want to do today is really talk about what these governments did when they got into power, was the establishment of the first public school systems in the South. Here's a picture of a schoolhouse, a freed schoolroom. It's not very luxurious, obviously, but before the Civil War, there were no public school systems in the South, with the exception of Tennessee and, for a short period of time, North Carolina. What I mean is a system, not just individual schools. There were private schools, private academies. There were sometimes local schools in some towns. There were charity schools here and there for poor white children. But there was no system of tax-supported public education in Southern schools. The planters didn't want to pay for this. They were sending their kids to private schools or having tutors come to the plantation to educate them. Many poorer whites didn't want to pay the taxes which were required to support public education.
I couldn't afford it.
So now you have state systems with the financed, as all around the country, by the general property tax, by local property taxes, generally taxes on land, naturally, to support the creation of these public schools. Now, as we saw, and for both black and white, right? Before the war, it was illegal to teach a slave to read and write. And free blacks sometimes had some access to education, very often, but privately. There was no public education for free blacks, but in some places.
So just also to put a pin on this too, free blacks in bondage always, like not always, but many found their way, they educated themselves, or there were subversive ways for them to educate themselves and become literate. Remember that the enslaved did everything from learn how to read and write and keep it secret, keep it a secret. And they also published newspapers. That's, they found ways around that. Just wanted to say that too. Like, it wasn't just, of course, illiteracy can account for the illiteracy rates even to this day. When Tim Scott lifts up his grandfather was illiterate but used to open the paper, like that's a vestige of what transpired. As a vestige of slavery, it's a vestige of Jim Crow, it's a vestige of an undermined like Reconstruction effort to create public education.
They were able to set up schools of their own. As we saw, black education had really begun in the Civil War, in the Army, and then with the Freedmen's Bureau coming down and setting up schools, and then these northern
Port Royal
religious and other aid societies sending teachers to try to establish schools. The American Missionary Association, a religious organization, sent teachers and money and books into the South right after the end of the Civil War. But now those things are all taken over and tremendously expanded by the state governments. Now, every northern state had a state-funded system of public education at that time. This was normal. But now, for the first time, it comes to the South. And, as I pointed out in my book, everybody who was commenting on Reconstruction was unanimous in writing about the enthusiasm, the tremendous enthusiasm of African Americans for education, of all ages, not just
hungry
children,
for it,
but adults of all kinds, people trekking miles to attend schools.
Yep, on
you don't have to be a genius to understand that education is a valuable thing to have. People wanted education just because that was, they could take part in the world better, they could take part in politics better, they could deal with employers better if they were literate. They could read the Bible, very, very important to religious people, Protestants anyway, that they could read the Bible if they were literate.
And remember, they didn't want black people to read the Bible because, if you read the Bible, you're like, wait, hold up, slavery's bad? Oh, okay. And that's the other thing. I know I whipped out Stamp from the beginning last week when we talked about like how a lot of like people who say, well, that was the times, that was... Like I pointed to Stamp from the beginning has like details like all these arguments throughout history of like why we shouldn't have slaves, right? And then, but you take it to the Bible. Slavery was not cool in the Bible. Like I just don't understand like these intellectual leaps that people who justify the inhumane treatment of kidnapped and trafficked Africans for the express use of just exploited labor and rape and all the other stuff, right? I don't know why people always make these leaps. Well, that was the times. Well, shit, if you read your Bible, half y'all keep claiming religious exemptions when it comes to this vaccine. Crack that Bible open. Learn about what Moses and them was talking about. Let my people go. Come on. It just it kills me.
And so there was all this enthusiasm. Now, many Southern whites were very hostile to the idea of black education, certainly at the beginning, particularly planters. They thought that you didn't need to be educated to be a field hand, to work out there in the cotton fields.
Familiar?
Education was sort of an impediment. It might lead people to become dissatisfied with the occupation that they had.
Yeah.
They, of course...
Yeah, if you educate planters and say, hey, you know what, this job is... You do education, you learn it. Oh, my job is shitty. I'm not getting a livable wage. Even back then. Oh, yeah. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm good on that. and that's exactly the sentiment. Some of the sentiment driving this school privatization. When they talk about having teachers who aren't certified, I couldn't imagine sending my child to a school unless I had some sort of strong beliefs about other types of maybe non-Western, or not even want to say a Western, unless I had some sort of like less mainstream like values around education, like homeschooling or something like that. I could never imagine sending my kids to a public school where the teacher did not have to get a certain level of education. I couldn't imagine, but that's the sentiment that's driving a lot of this privatization from the school teachers down to other key administrators. And what you ultimately have is a bunch of babysitters. And this is where I need y'all to help me out with, because it feels like I'm in community with a number of women, specifically black women, who are in the classrooms in Charleston County schools, but they don't appear to be teachers. But there's a couple of influencers, I ain't gonna say no names, there's a couple of influencers that I peep, and they keep saying they're teachers, But I don't think they teachers, because I don't remember them going, like, they don't never talk about it's just there's something off. Am I incorrect? Are there like teachers' aides that don't have to have certain certifications that are in classrooms that aren't teachers, but kind of perform some of the role, perform some of what teachers do? Well, keep me honest in the chat. Justin, you dropped something in the chat. You said, though many did also used to curse descendants of Canaan, passage, right? Mark of Cain, right? Is that it? In Genesis to uphold slavery, right? That's what the Mormons was like. What? Mormons didn't change their Bible to like. Mormons didn't change their Bible to like what? 1997, when they had that whole black people are damned and cursed, right? Yeah, I had to ban that person, right? So, yeah, they pick and choose what scripture they want to use to justify atrocities, for sure.
Were quite hostile to Northern teachers who came down, accusing them of spreading all sorts of incendiary ideas. There were many instances in the early days of Reconstruction of the burning of schoolhouses.
Look at this.
Violence, or more likely ostracism of white teachers. White teachers would come into a community, they couldn't find a place to live. They'd often had to live with a black family in some rather, rundown kind of shack. They were just, particularly female teachers who came to the South from the North, and there were many of them, were treated to a lot of ostracism, and just nobody would invite them anywhere, talk to them among the white community, etc. Education was the main long-lasting achievement, one might say, of these Reconstruction governments. Education for white and black children. It was the first time that poorer white children had access to public education, as well as African Americans. It laid the foundation for the public school system in the ex-slave states. Of course, it took a while to get off the ground. It cost a lot of money to build schoolhouses and pay teachers and get the facilities.
I'm going to read from the chat real quick. El Kujay, you says, also when I was asking about the certification process and all that, you said also many substitute teachers in place right now because of shortages, right? Don't know if there's that is an overlap. I was actually going to speak to that. So thank you so much, El Kujay, because that was in one of the news packages, either the one I played here this morning on the live stream, y'all, or one that I consumed at a later. Like, now that you have all these substitute teachers coming in and, playing, I guess, an outsized role of a traditional educator. And shout out to all the substitute teachers that are really trying to do their best and whatnot and hold it down. But that too, I feel in fear the placeholders and the mitigation, whatever it is to man the classrooms, is going to lead to, well, we got through it with substitutes, then they're not certified, so we could just keep going. And that's not the bar we want to clear. Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up about the substitute. That does correlate to what we're talking about. Jessica, you offered up something that's happening right now. They were calling for substitutes in Dorchester District 2, DD2, and said GED only is fine. Right. I don't have a problem with GED, right? We're not trying to be, we're not trying to alienate anyone. We're not going to be classist, or I don't know what that word is when it comes to people who don't have credentials and degrees. But I do believe that there should be a different standard. Anyway, let me read your comment, Jessica. You says, when calling for substitutes in Dorchester District 2, they said GED only is fine. You don't have a problem, Jessica. You're saying you don't have a problem with GED, but if you're getting into education, you should have a degree in education. I mean,
now listen.
I mean, like, okay, all right. Christy, you went on to say, teachers' assistants don't need certification or training, as far as you know, right? Mine never had any, right? Some were really good with kids, had natural connection, and that's what's needed. Okay. So there is a presence in the classroom, I think, and no shade, but I see a lot of people acting like I don't know. It's like a fine line. Like, are you an educator or are you a teacher's assistant, right? Shout out to the new follower, right? It's really hard to discern. And I think that lack of clarity is by design.
But certainly by the 1870s, the school systems were operating.
What's the PACE program?
Quite well. many hundreds of thousands of children, both black and white, were in school in the South, most of them for the first time, by the time Reconstruction ended.
Okay, I'm gonna stop with Mr. Foner right here. And I just really think that it's important to learn about the history of public schools, how we got here. I wanted to go back to my slide deck, not the Horizon TIFF. Let me close that out. I want to go back to my work. Okay, so yeah, I opened up the slide deck from my previous employer. This was curriculum designed to talk about things like capitalism and class and whatnot. But for me, I wanted to tailor it to the South. And so actually my boss was the one that actually put me up on this article, but then it sent me down this rabbit hole, so to speak. So this is the title of this slide that I created was called Jim Crow Philanthropy, right? But it goes on to talk about, and we opened it up. We talked about it here, right? And talked about the Rosenwald schools and whatnot and education. I just want to lift that up. I guess I just wanted to lift that up and let y'all know that how important this history is and what it looked like in its earlier iterations, what it looked to serve. And I also don't want you to forget, you cannot separate the race issues and class issues. You can't take the race and class struggle from this fight, away from this fight for the fight to save public schools. You really cannot take it because they're preying upon the poor and the people of color, Black people and BIPOC students. They're preying upon them. Like Joy lifted up earlier, marking them as, schools, acceleration schools, whatever they are. And in that way, they're able to target them later. What I want to do is get to the calls to act like, what do we need to do? Because I want to land this plane. So I'm going to open up the newsletter one more time. So this morning, shout out. If y'all haven't, please text me, email me, DM me. If you have not subscribed, you don't know how to subscribe, you can go to the link in the Instagram bio. You can go to the link there. You should see newsletter. There's a MailChimp newsletter link there. If not, if you're just not savvy, you're not on Instagram, you took it off your phone like some of my friends have, hit me up. Please subscribe to the newsletter. I appreciate it. It started off with like 3,000, probably 3 or 5. And, it's shaping up to be a good community of people who are really engaged. Y'all have been super engaged with it. Let me see what the open rate is on these newsletters. Like, y'all blew my socks off on Friday. And whilst I don't do things that just because of stats, it's worth noting. So Friday's newsletter went out 7:00 in the PM, 53% open rate. That's crazy. Then I sent out another one last night, 31% open rate. That's bananas. And then this morning, I got 24% open rate, which is phenomenal. So 500 opens this morning. And so what I hope to do, 670 opens last night and 1,100 opens on Friday. That's y'all. Why is that important? It's important because we're trying to get this information out to as many people as possible. Shout out to y'all who complimented the newsletter. I feel it was very busy. I'm going to work harder to create templates that are a little bit, whatever. But I appreciate, understand. I appreciate y'all giving me positive feedback. I really do. I love feedback. I love it, even if it's not positive. So I linked to Paul's piece. We didn't finish that, but it's a banger. And I did want to read that with y'all. I kind of saved that for y'all. I'm gonna go back and finish it by myself. We didn't even read this. Okay, here we go. I want to land the plane. The land in the plane is, y'all, please go to the newsletter or right now, write down the email address, public comments at charleston.k12.sc.us and say no to reimagine schools. Write and say, I'm writing as a Charleston resident and I do not want reimagined schools policy. It's fucked up. CCF don't have no business running schools. Whatever you want to say. Be diplomatic. Don't be like me. Be diplomatic. I'm always diplomatic in my written word, though. I'm extraordinarily diplomatic in my written word. All right. Public comments. Again, public comments with an S at charleston.k12.sc.us. Thanks, Joy. All right, so make sure you do that. That's what we need you to do. All right, so now I'm going to go back to the Washington Post piece. Again, published January 8th. I got you in the chat. January 8th. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Here we go. Charleston County School District, the second largest district in South Carolina. Excuse me, did I say Charleston County? Charleston County School District, the second largest district in South Carolina with about 50,000 students, has become a testing ground for the school privatization movement. And 2022 is bringing a new battle. South Carolina's schools have long been among the worst performing schools in the country. Now, say word. I remember when I moved here and saw that shit, right? Saddled with a legacy of apathy, low expectations that leave students unprepared for the world that awaits them. Remember, this is why. How is this rooted in white supremacy? Because also this anti-labor union state wants an undereducated or uneducated populace. Like, they want an uneducated constituency. They want that. That means they're right for expectation in terms of wages, expectation in terms of policies. They want you to be underinformed and undereducated. That serves and that helps keep a minority of folks in power for disproportionately in power this long. So you get what I'm saying? So when you talk about white supremacy, how this is, first it was to keep you had to, so capitalism requires you to continuously create an underclass, right? Right. So whether it's the Native American, whether it's the indigenous, whether it's the kidnapped and trafficked Africans that they brought here against their will, whether it's new immigrants from Europe coming over that had ethnicity, but then they made them white when they saw them joining with black people and joining with indigenous populations to rise up. Oh, and that's when they say, oh, no, Irish, you're not ethnic no more. Italians, y'all not ethnic no more. Y'all are white. Y'all with us. Right? So there's a constant creation of underclass. There's a constant creation of having, it's just, anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Right. Who's this right there? First time ignorance is the key in unlocking control. Who? I ain't lying with that. Shout out to the first time chatter. Welcome. All right. So South Carolina, let me just read it again. South Carolina schools have long been among the worst performing in the country, saddled with a legacy of apathy and low expectations that leave students unprepared for the world that awaits them, according to a 2018 Post and Courier investigation. So that's around Paul Bauer's time, right? School choice, including charter schools, private academies, and specialized magnet schools and other options, has siphoned the best performing students from struggling schools, while children with the fewest resources get marooned in failing institutions. That's what the newspaper said back then, right? Shortly before Paul was promoted to resident. All right. North Charleston High School loses more than half of the students in its attendance zone to a host of magnet, charter, and private schools, leaving behind a core of poor black students, said the investigation by a team of reporters, including the award-winning Paul Bowers. Since desegregation efforts decades ago, the Charleston district has returned to de facto segregation at many of its schools, accelerated by a boom of magnet schools in the 1990s and in the early 2000s. It currently sponsors 9 public charter schools, right, and 2 public-private partnership schools, in addition to multiple schools within the county-sponsored statewide authorizers. On Monday, today, the school board is scheduled to vote on a proposal that would allow the takeover of 23 low-performing schools, I hate that phrase, in low income. And one thing we got to stop doing, it is what it is, like these schools are that, they've been designated as that. But one thing that Navarro and those who are fighting for privatization, they've racialized poverty, they've racialized education and inequality. So that needs to be called out, right? They're targeting certain communities intentionally, and they're not, to someone's earlier point, the schools aren't failing, they've been failed by a system. They've been stolen from by TIFs and other type of policies, right? And other type of things, other factors. But anyway, I'm not trying to contradict, what's her name? Valerie. I'm not trying to contradict her for sport. I just wanted to say that this language is not, it's not the language we want to use. But anyway, on Monday, the school board is scheduled to vote on a proposal that would allow the takeover of 23 lower performing schools in the low income and majority black neighborhoods by an innovation management organization. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. innovation management organization, and I run a C-beam conglomerate. Okay. An innovation management organization, which would be allowed under law to hire some of its teachers without a state teaching license. Disgusting. In this post, Bowers looks at, in this post, Bowers looks at Charleston's public schools, looks at what Charleston's public schools are up against. A parent of 3 public school children in North Charleston, he was the Post and Courier's education reporter from 2016 to 2019 and was part of a team that won the 2018, is it Edie or Eddie prize from, I didn't know this part, I didn't know he got this award, the 2018 prize from the Education Writers Association. Good job. So I'm gonna stop there from the piece. It's linked in the newsletter if you want to continue to read the piece. Let me go to the chat real quick. So Justin, you followed up. You said, which is so wild when they are also courting corporations with cheap land and tax concessions who claim they want to. Yo, Justin, let me see if I can find that shit. Damn, Justin, like I'm telling you, and this is why I really can't stand. The propaganda that comes from the Charleston Forum, this right here. Oh yeah, this from 2017. Oh, ETV covered it. Wouldn't it be great to have like
in 1940?
So I was in attendance here, and I remember this because Reverend Nelson Rivers, I think he done with me, but shout out to Nelson Rivers. Let me just let this play a little bit.
7, NAACP
to Justin's
attorney,
point,
Thurgood Marshall came down and filed a lawsuit on behalf of some people in Clarendon County, South Carolina. So the state was had 2 separate school districts back then. They would let Brian Hicks moderate this. Shut the fuck up, sit down, frumpy ass. And I can say that because I'm frumpy. So what was interesting about this pen, I wanted to kind of get through the participants, right? Professor at College of Charleston. I have read.
Okay, so participants. Let me see it. I'm gonna see. Is this a lady from Starbucks? Let me see it. The lady is a lady from Starbucks, I think. Oh no, was she formerly of Starbucks? No, here, right here. Former general counsel of Starbucks. If y'all go back and watch this, to Justin's point about, which is crazy because they don't care about education, but they woo all these corporations, they woo all these manufacturers here, like Boeing specifically, right? With cheap land and tax concessions, and who claim they want skilled workforce. And that's what the chick right here, she's with Boeing, the one in white, right? The set producer should be fired. Why would you put these soft sinking couches on here? That's just whatever. But anyway, so she talked about that we don't have a strong enough education pipeline. I'm like, you chose South Carolina, baby girl. You chose South Carolina. What did you think education was like in South Carolina? You could have got me a cup of coffee, and I could have told you, hey, I don't know if you want a strong educated workforce. And what did they end up doing, Justin? Right? Oh yeah, Rivers. I know, Honor. That's why I laughed. He's done with me. That's why I laughed. Oh, we already locked horns. So not even on that. Not lock horns, but sometimes I don't play nice for others. You're not gonna make me a secretary, no matter where. Hey, Tamika, can you join this organizing effort? Sure. Can you take notes? Fuck out of here. What? Take notes for who? What? Nigga, I'm 40. All right. So I'm gonna get in trouble. But that's anyway. So anyway, this chick was like, oh, we don't have the pipeline. And then this chick right here, she eventually says it, and I want to find it. She's like, I don't know why I'm something akin to I don't know why I'm on this panel, because she was a counselor with Starbucks. So, and she admitted, like, why is she talking on education? But this is Charleston Forum, right? Bullshit ass Charleston Forum, right? White led nonprofit taking up all the space and all the oxygen in the room away from real conversations about race and justice issues, and now has become just a tool of Scarlett Wilson's Ninth Circuit in her propaganda, right? Charleston Forum is now just a bully pulpit for law enforcement. It has nothing to do with race and reform or race relations or anything like that. But anyway, they assembled this panel on education, and I was like, what?
That in Charleston County alone, by third grade, 84% of African.
I don't know why he's standing up too. That's weird.
The area. This is not just a problem in Charleston County.
I want to fast forward to when the women speak, because I believe, let me see, the African American woman. This is going. Okay, let me see.
Workforce in Charleston.
Okay. Yep. They talk about the workforce. Here we go.
Lindsay, from both, what have you guys seen along those lines? I mean, do you have trouble getting a workforce in Charleston?
Yes, the reality.
He asked her, "You have trouble getting a workforce in Charleston?" That's what Brian Hicks just asked her. Listen to this.
Is that to come to work at a place like Boeing in this facility, making this technologically advanced airplane, we have to have students coming out of high school who are college and career ready and meeting the grade level standards.
I was in the balcony when I heard this. I'm like, okay.
And so it's certainly something that we look at and how we're going to be successful in this community for the next 50 to 100 years. We don't make
no problem, little mama,
without looking at it to have generational impact. And so as a result of that, some of the numbers are incredible.
No, I echo those sentiments. Fuck Brian Hicks. Seriously, a total hack. I don't even. Why is he leading a conversation on? Like this is where how people put together events. They just care about the names. Cause why is he leading a panel on economics? He's not even like the business reporter at the Post and Courier. Like economics and education is the topic, and you gonna have Brian Hicks up there, an opinion columnist? Fuck out of here.
Staggering. 9 out of 10 African American students who come out of Charleston County School District have to retake remedial math. It's unacceptable from our perspective.
Racializing that disparity.
Where we look at how we make change is not just in our investments. We do not necessarily believe that more money.
So this is also a play to make it clear too, when you have a Boeing or just enter the name of the manufacturer that's relocated here. Again, please go watch that 60-minute piece that aired last night. When you have manufacturers come to Charleston and make these type of comments public, they're tipping their hand in terms of where they're gonna probably enter in the conversation around some of the policy construction. And if you think that these businesses don't have a hand in policy, please revisit the comment that Justin dropped in there about the incentives offered up to them. There's huge negotiations, huge bargaining going on before these manufacturers get here. I want to get to the point where the sister says, I'm not an education specialist. There are huge negotiations made. They know what they're getting into. They knew the workforce was not where they needed in terms of, I guess, any type of skill set. Look, this was not a plain manufacturing region. This was not Illinois. This was not Seattle, right? It's not the Midwest, somewhere in Ohio. And I saw this driving Uber. I took so many people home from Boeing who had to work after working like mandatory overtime shifts, and they were from Pennsylvania. They were from Ohio. They were from the Pacific Northwest. They were not from here. And then we saw subsequently what happened because we don't have the workforce and they skirted all those guidelines with safety. You had planes dropping out the sky, planes that were manufactured in part here in Charleston. So so we're seeing real life effects of you coming here for tax incentives and then saying, well, we can kind of cut corners, or we'll bust in the manufacturers from other regions. We'll incentivize them. So now you're displacing local workers. Instead of taking 10, 20 years to get, even come up with a trade program, anticipating manufacturing, and you knew you were going to be wooing manufacturers. Like, that's not new in South Carolina. So instead of anticipating that and strengthening our education system or creating some sort of trade program, right? You do this other fuck shit, right? I really want to get to the sister saying, well, I don't know why I'm on this panel. Something like that. I want to make sure my memory is on point. Let me see if this is it.
You were an assistant U.S. attorney, And I've been working.
So she was an assistant U.S. attorney.
A lot with recidivist, and one of the things that I'd never really considered was that crime is usually an economic problem.
He never considered that.
There are no
at his big age
opportunities for people, and a lot of these guys that I've talked to have come out of prison that said, well, I stole or I did this because there wasn't any other way for me to make a living.
That's a very broad generalization.
Is that what you've seen, and is that part of the...
Understand, when you're a felon, you come out of jail, you can't take advantage of food stamps, you can't get an apartment, you can't get public housing. So what you gonna do? You gonna be homeless? Like, it's what we do to people who've committed crimes, and we put them back. Like, and then what you gotta do? Work fraternal leave? That's working with the damn solicitor's office.
This cycle, as you've seen it.
Well, Brian, let me start by saying, and to the audience, I am not an educator.
That's what I remember being in the balcony. This is the first time I'm watching it, y'all, since I was there in person. She came out the gate, was like, I'm not an educator. Okay? I didn't understand why, but not to say she couldn't offer value, but it was just really weird.
And I'm not a policymaker, and so at first I scratched my head. Why am I on this panel?
See, that's what I'm gonna leave it there. I remember listening to that, right? He never considered at his big age in Charleston. Oh, they're just you think people committing crimes for sport? Now, granted, there's some pretty sick individuals out there. I didn't even want to litter y'all with the news. There was so much news. Bob Saget was the saddest I wanted to get today. It's so much really sad news, and I gotta unfollow some of these news outlets from where I used to live in Philly and New York, the New York metro area, because it's a lot of sad news. But anyway, I was talking about nature of violent crime anyway. But no, I just thought this was really weird. I remember watching this and like, well, she's not an educator or a policymaker. They just put somebody black with accolades on here, and she really did not add to the education conversation in the way that you would think, outside of some basic points that she made. But the young lady from Boeing, she just kept talking about there's no pipeline here. I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. You chose Charleston because it's cheap, not because it was fucking booming with STEM. Well, it had a huge STEM reputation. Like, have you heard of the corridor of shame? have you heard about the billboards in the 90s, right? Jessica, you dropped something in the chat real quick. You said same thing has been happening in wireless communication for 20 years. The minute union activity kicked up at a call center, right, it would be shut down within 6 months of a new center, and the new center will open up down south. Oh, wow. Oh, lower wages, tax incentives, right to work state. Yeah. So it's going to be like a janky segue. I'm not a policymaker or an educator, but I don't know why I'm on this panel. Because old boy said, oh, yeah, you're black. Just get on the panel. What subscription should I open up? So, yes, it's going to be like a janky segue. Again, encouraging. I've already encouraged via newsletter. Thousands of people have opened newsletter, or at least this morning, hundreds of people opened the newsletter with the prompt to call, or rather to email Charleston County School Systems, say no to reimagine, right? So we know we're left there, but I really want to make this U-turn or make this hard turn to the 60 Minutes piece. I really think it's important. Got it. I think it's important. Before I dip, I'm about to do my, I always say, wait, oh, that's wrong. That's not me. Hold on, make sure I sign in correctly. My library. My dad didn't even tell me, oh yeah, Mika is based in Greenville. And I got, shout out to my cousin Raynard, who worked for BMW up there. I got to talk to him. So yeah, they did a whole story on the Big Quit, right? And I do think,
yep.
Yeah, I stopped it at Cola Guard. I do think this was instructional, like in terms of like this conversation, because when we talk about the workforce and education and talk about who's coming here and for what reasons and who's thriving, who's surviving, who's pivoting, You gotta look at the growth. That's why in the first newsletter that went out Friday, I included that Caitlin Bird piece. Shout out Caitlin Bird. Shout out Caitlin Bird from the state newspaper when she talked about Charleston losing its authenticity, losing its character because of growth and unbridled growth. That also adds to this conversation about education, our education system. Who are we accommodating? Who are we making accommodations for? Corporations. All right, who are we always bending over backwards to accommodate? Billionaires and about to dip equals. You don't know me, Tom. You don't know nothing about me. Stay out of my business. About to dip means 20 minutes at least. I'm black, y'all. That's a black thing. All right, I'm about to get up and go. Be right at your screen door for 20 more minutes. I'm black, sir. All right. That sounds like an evil laugh.
People are quitting and they're not.
That part stuck with my dad too. She said, she's not going back. I'm like, yeah, Dad, I wouldn't go back. Like, well, you gotta commute. You gotta wear real clothes. You gotta put on pants. I don't have to take this, Larry. I quit.
There is no office that could offer me what I have in my house.
Nope. Can you offer me herbal tea with double ginger and queen and comb honey? I don't think you could. Like piping hot on the, no, you can't. All right. No, it's infuriating watching my dad. I'm giving y'all the better parts. My dad, like, oh my God, gender roles came up last night, but it is, you know what it is? It's funny. And then sometimes it's like eye-opening because he'll make an observation, Evelyn, about his work experiences and in Charleston and all that stuff. And not everything is rooted in race when we talk like that. I mean, it is because we're black and he's a descendant, he's a survivor of Jim Crow, but but it's just, it can be really eye-opening to hear like how he had to kind of like, he and my mother, like how they had to kind of just keep bouncing around to find the best opportunities to raise their families. Both of them were married before they married each other. And it just was, it's just a lot. It was just a lot. It's just a lot. It's eye-opening, but it definitely can be funny, but then it can descend very quickly into women's roles and shit. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, Daddy. I just keep repeating myself. He was born 1939, Tamika. He was born 1939. It don't matter. It don't matter. All right. I'm going to end it there. Did I make it 20 minutes or less? I don't know. I'm going to hop off. I'm very hungry. I'm out of candy. I'm out of tea. So I want to go ahead and get ready, send my email off, get ready for the Charleston County School District's information. I'm going to stay in tune. Let me see what Joy and Honor is saying. Oh, y'all just talking back and forth, you and Honor. All right, about virtual teaching and whatnot. But yeah, y'all have a good day. Hey, Hillary. Yeah, y'all have a good day. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be heavy. Wednesday, we got April McGill. Ooh, I thought I was the only one talking spicy about certain things in Charleston. No, April was like, no. I see you, CC. I see your CCF, Mika, and I raise you up. And we'll talk about it on Wednesday. Wednesday, we'll also be recapping Tuesday night City Council. So we'll get to that. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the subs. Thank you for the new Patreon subscribers. I got to do a better job. Y'all help me out. Be ambassadors. A lot of y'all already do the heavy lifting. Go tell somebody else to donate $1 to me on Patreon. That's y'all homework. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. I know I covered a lot of ground. Try to get it all in there. It's in the newsletter. If I didn't say it today, it's in the newsletter. All right, take care, y'all. I appreciate it and I love y'all so much. Thank you for the support and for watching. For the first timers, I hope you liked it. Get a little spicy. I'm going to complicate your life, but we're going to be better for it and we're going to be better critical thinkers for it. Thank y'all. Have a good day. Bye.